Hello, everybody, and welcome to Scheduling Conflicts, the only show
Let's
that
go!
runs when other shows get canceled. It's been a hot minute since we have had an episode of Scheduling Conflicts. We always look forward to the next one. Our last one was maybe a little bit on the high concept side of things, but let's hope that this time we could be a little bit more grounded. I don't know. This is a show for us to cut loose, not prep too much, and try to have the best time that we can sprinting through an adventure at max pace. They are always one shots, they are almost always fully improvised with minimal details. In the interest of that, we are going to be playing one of our favorite TTRPGs, Monster of the Week. I will be your keeper this evening, and I am joined by my three fantastic players. I'm going to ask you all, do you want to open on little character scenes, or do you just want me to introduce your characters, or do you just want to meet them in the course of what we see?
I think we can do little character scenes.
Okay, let me turn up the music. This track's a little quiet. I'm gonna tweak it up so that hopefully the audience can hear. If anybody hops in and sees that, just let me know if any of our audio gets screwy. If it's the future, if it is not January 21st, keep it to yourself, man. Turn the volume up and down. You're an adult. All right. In that case, I will merely introduce where we begin. You see before you an expanse of sand and dirt and dust, dotted only by the occasional rising hill and cactus. The year is 1882. The president of this United States is Chester A. Arthur, following the assassination of James Garfield. But as far as you all are concerned, that's barely on your radar because you all are members of a railway company project to try to scoop one of the first major rail developments crossing from the east to the west. You've all been hired by the Kingsport Railway Company, and we find you approaching the end in the last third, maybe even quarter, of the longest construction project any of you have ever signed up for. Although, from what I hear, not all of you signed up necessarily because of your passion for railway steel and setting down wooden, it's not a ballast, but I'm gonna have to say ballast, railroad ties. Instead, we find three people brought together by circumstance and coincidence, hopefully well suited to take on what lies ahead of them, as we deal with what this episode of Monster of the Week has to provide. Who would like to go first as our scope swings in on a small half of a town? Tents and semi-permanent structures built up around the latest location where railroad track is being built, now slowly and methodically blasting, picking, and mining its way through the heart of a mountain, headed out west.
I'll take the first.
All right, Spencer, go ahead and introduce us to Elmer Thick.
So, Elmer Thick, you cut in, and you're looking at about maybe a 34-year-old man. He has freckled and deeply tanned skin. He has slick back blonde hair, almost brown by the amount of grease that's sort of piled up on there to keep it pushed back. And it's typically not exposed because he's got a wide brim cowboy hat on most of the time. You see that he has two firearms on his hip. One on a cavalry draw where it's flipped around, and then the other on a regular quick draw, with a large Bowie knife in his back belt. He's wearing a long leather brown duster, and he has bags under his eyes, like he hasn't been getting quite enough sleep. And with the deepness of the bags, you probably assume that that's typical for him. He doesn't typically get a lot of that sleep. Right now, he is sitting on top of the engineer car on that train. He has one of the revolvers drawn, and he's looking out over this dusty plain. And you see he spits into a small tin. He's got some chewing tobacco in his mouth right now. So he's ting, spits in there, and he's on the lookout for some coyotes. He's been hearing they've been giving the construction workers a bit of an issue. So he's trying to plick them off one by one.
In this sort of $20,000 budget version of this, because I think this would be a pretty low budget spaghetti western on its best day, we see a scene of Elmer Thick the night before, in the moments before this, sitting up, a little startled, hair a little bedraggled, hearing the distant yipping and calling of coyotes, and laying back down, knowing that in the morning he's going to have to get up on top and keep looking for these damn dogs that keep outmaneuvering him. All right, who's up next?
I guess I'll go. Kind of like deep in recesses of the mountain where they're slowly making progress. Dude Shelson is there with the TNT crew, and he's got like this heavy cotton, very shabby kind of like, sort of like coveralls on. That's just kind of been like very grimy with all of the debris and stuff. And he's got like a bandana like covering his face as he's like checking out like some of the holes where they've kind of plugged up some TNT, and he's just like, all right guys, I'll give this a look over and then we can set this stuff off. And as they kind of like fade out, he like peers in and then takes his hand, moves it against the rock, slowly moves in, and he kind of just grabs the TNT from the back, just gives it a slight tug just to like set it right and nice again, pulls his arm out, looks around a little bit. He's like, all right, it's all clear, and gingerly steps over the rails as he goes loping out of the blast zone.
We see Dude run out as a bunch of other dudes waving their hands at the few people stupid enough to be near the entrance as you all jump over one of the little protective, almost foxholes that have been dug. We hear that loud, very unique sound of explosives that as dust lifts out, disturbing all of the noise for just a moment. Elmer, looking up and over, seeing the 100th cloud of dust eke its way out of that mountain as men start to run in with wheelbarrows and picks to take out the next large section. You all have been at this for weeks. And now finally, where do we see Bucky Barron in this same time?
They're Bucky Barron. The sound of the explosion, he also realizes his short and brief break is now over as he counts the coins and looks through his map, detailing his way back to his homeland. He starts crumbling it up. Bucky, still late 20s, but he looks a lot older, given his very coarse, dark beard, grimy and covered in dust. You know, his hair starting to kind of gray, but mostly hidden under a hat and a bandana, wearing a bunch of beige. But one thing you notice about Bucky is a patch on his left shoulder. That patch is blue with a silver engraving of AASH. Now, for being here in these desert land of Arizona, Bucky Barron has revealed to some of his acquaintances, Elmer and Dude, one of his association. He is actually from the north in the Rocky Mountains of Alberta, Canada. Of the Albertan Association of Supernatural.
Get out of here!
The Albertan Association of Supernatural Hunters. I can't even think of how many different versions of AASH Bucky has had to say to different people. Bucky has notebooks full of nothing but different fake organizations with the letters AASH. Hilarious.
And knowing he's one of the best, along with his Winchester lever action rifle, his Colt revolver on the side, also with his nice little trusty Bowie knife that he inherited from his brother before he passed, that was part of his party. Bucky, also known as Bucky the Sasquatch Slayer.
Oh my goodness.
Carrying a backpack in this big carry, also making sure that the containments are still preserved, hoping that he can get home and also help. The Albertan Association of Supernatural Hunters are also backed by the 5th Parliament of Canada and their Prime Minister, John MacDonald.
Bucky's got that deep Canadian monster hunting lore. Absolutely fantastic. We see this
He's trying to make his way home. Has revealed this to his new acquaintances because he couldn't hold it anymore. Why he's still down here, what he's looking for, we're still trying to figure that out. Until then, he packs everything. Well then, showtime had begun. More coin and a brisk breeze in the mountains will wake me once again.
Too good. I've written episode 1 at the top because I love this party already. So, Elmer, Bucky, and Dude, we see you make it through the rest of that day. Dude, your time going into the mine comes to an end as the sun begins to set, and those poor unfortunate souls who need to use explosives with lanterns to light the way head out. Those that make a higher pay rate than you. But you could have sworn that you left the last town with more of them than you have now. According to the railway, there have been no accidents, but maybe a couple of forced retirings have made up some of that difference. We see quick flashes of you all throughout the night. We see Elmer sitting up on top of that train still towards the end of the night, maybe with a long rifle now, born out of his frustrations, keeping an eye on the horizon. Eventually, as we cut off, we hear the crack of Elmer's rifle as he finally manages to spot a coyote heading in towards one of the sides of the camp. We see Dude, who is in the process of doing his nightly work of restacking crates of explosives that are leaking nitroglycerin, unstable and dangerous as everything is. Dude, being one of the only ones who has less reason to fear, often volunteers for something that most men fear to do. And Bucky, I imagine, we find staring out into the middle distance, always gazing north, sharpening a Bowie knife on a stone, staring off into a tomorrow that is still on its way. You all eventually find your ways to bed over the course of this night, and when dawn comes, it comes alongside the sounds of shouts. Shouts, worry, and concern, and a massive dust cloud kicked up out of the tunnel. It isn't long as you start to see people running out, half-dressed, making their way over, and you see different groups coming around, people asking each other questions, a couple of people being grabbed by their lapels, suspenders, or the front of their cover or overalls, being sort of shouted questions in their faces as people try to figure out what happened and what has just come to pass. You see the foreman, Ezekiel Miller, a perpetual sight, a mountain of a man. Ezekiel Miller stands easily 5'11", which for 1882 makes him an effective giant, a colossus, running across the distance, headed out. He returns just a few moments later, his shirt pulled up over his face, covered head to toe in thick gray dust, shaking his head solemnly no as others catch up. It is only a few moments later that the group convenes and that whispers start to make their way around the camp about what happened. 12 men went down last night to set the new charges. Some that had blown earlier in the day, specifically just as they were headed into evening, had stumbled upon a cave system deep beneath the mountain that was already there, and they figured this was a great opportunity to take advantage of it. Specifically, well, they don't have any details. I'll leave that to our investigators. 12 men went down, and none have come back. But, upon taking a closer look, the foreman and a few others agree if somebody was careful, they might be able to squeeze past what is caved in into the tunnels and see who made it and who didn't. And they are looking for volunteers. A small group, not too many, not too few. Quickly, the assembled workers are gathered. Those who have gotten enough sleep to be of help, sans those with children that they are sending money away to, and others who ought not be invited along this, those too old or infirm to be of practical help. And the foreman gets up on top, still wiping the dust off his face. All right, folks. There's no easy two ways about it. We got 12 men down there. I could wire back for assistance, but if I do, the railway company's just going to tell us to keep going. We can't hold for long, but I can hold them for maybe a day. I need volunteers. Those of you brave enough, willing enough to go down below and see if you can't find if any of them made it out. Anybody up for it?
I mean, obviously I'm going to be going. And Elmer steps forward a few feet.
Elmer steps forward. As you do, you say this, seeing it as natural as anything, as you turn around and you begin to realize a couple of other people starting to just turn their attention away, wander off into the camp and the dust. Who is next as Elmer Thick steps forward?
I do reckon that there will be a little extra pay as well to help us in our dangerous endeavor. I, of course, will stand to help out.
Well, we have managed to put a small collection together, talking to the families and those that knew those 12 men, and he looks around as if he's about to say something scandalous. We've gotten $12 together, one for each man. You hear a glass shatter behind you. Somebody fumbles their glass in their hand. Now that's if you bring everyone back. We'll have to negotiate if some people don't make it, or if it turns out that there's no one there at all. But no matter what, there will be an extra bonus in it from the company.
You have a deal.
Say you did. Okay, Bucky's in. All right.
Hopefully they've kept their wits about them down there and are kind of hunkering down and staying safe. Then they're good friends of mine too, so I'll try and see if any of them can be retrieved.
You see a look of vivid relief cross his face as he goes, dude, I was hoping you'd be among them. You know those tunnels better than anyone. You know what's down there.
Sure
and you
is.
have a thought to yourself like, no, that's not how that works. All right. Quickly, the foreman, Ezekiel Miller, makes his way down. As the three of you reconvene, you discover, who would have guessed it? The only 3 volunteers. You make your way.
Elmer looks back and he's like, come on, Pete. Let's go. You got to do it too.
He goes, oh, no, my knee. Remember yesterday you said when I turned,
Yeah.
and he starts limping away. Oh, no,
All right,
it's
Krieg.
it's getting
Come
worse
on,
right
Krieg.
now. Krieg goes, and just in German says, I'm sorry, I don't speak English very well, turns and leaves. You have had drinks with Krieg every night for 3 weeks. He speaks perfect fluent English, and he walks off to another part of the camp, and in short order, you are solamente, the 3 of you.
Sorry,
guess
boss. It's
those-
just us.
I guess those two are going to have to keep an eye on the coyotes while you're gone.
Yeah, you better get some damn coyote. If there's more coyotes when I get back than when I left, I'm gonna kick your ass. Krieg, you take this rifle and I hand the rifle that I was using earlier. You get them damn coyotes.
Krieg takes it and
More than
goes,
coyotes out there.
all right,
Elmer.
in English, and then walks off.
There's definitely gonna be more than coyotes by the time we get back up there.
Oh my gosh.
I know the sound of a Wendigo.
Brother, you keep talking crazy shit this entire time we've been on this road. I don't want to hear about Wendigo,
The wind
whoever the
does
fuck
go.
that is.
You don't understand until you get hungry. Let's hope we don't
Ezekiel
travel
Miller,
down
whose
that.
eyes have been slowly darting between the 3 of you, goes, yeah, all right. For sure.
Anyway.
So, look who's here.
Don't mind me.
So, here's what we know so far. We got 12 folks down there all told. We've got... all right, I'm about to go down an extremely long list of people.
Oh, we got names.
Milton Durham, Hezekiah Willis, Sidney Bauer, Oscar Hampton, Willard Rowland, Cornelius Waters, Sylvester Donaldson, Wilbur Glenn, Felix Carter, Micah Retliff, Winthrop Harvey. And this is the part I wanted to tell you in front of everyone. Got no damn idea why. But, Nathaniel Birch went down there with him.
That's odd.
And you all would know Nathaniel Birch is the railway man. He's the man from the railway who has been keeping an eye on things and securing payment and stopping in towns. You are used to seeing him, as you have always seen him, in a tall, high-buttoned black suit, usually 3-piece, with a watch in his pocket and a pair of dark sunglasses, constantly keeping the sun out of his eyes. He is a wealthy, if unsettling presence who rarely talks to anybody, and you've certainly never seen him pick up a pickaxe or go into a tunnel. He goes,
You went
"That's-
down on the night shift with the dynamite crew?
Yeah, I don't... Listen, none of us... There ain't no one here who can tell him what to do. And when they went to go down there, he was just with them. From what I hear, a couple of the boys asked him what he was doing, and he said, "I just as the railway needs," and went down there with him to load the next shift.
I mean, it's a cool line. I'll give him that. Cool way to say it. But fucking stupid.
I don't see how temperature is related to the nature of what it is he done said.
It's an interesting way. I'd say it's an evocative way to say what he said.
Evocative. Is that French? I like that. You know, Elmer, you read good. I bet you should really tell stories around the camp more. But anywho, that's where, if I'm honest with you, the bulk of the money's coming from. He had a little bit set aside in case he was ever kidnapped or anything, and I'm guessing this counts as well as anything else, so that's what I've got for you. I don't wait too long. Like I said, I can only hold things up here for a couple of hours, maybe until tonight, before we got to get moving again. I appreciate the three of you doing this. If the three of you don't come back up, you got anyone we can send money to?
Send mine to the new president. I hear that, he's a little strapped for cash because he wasn't expecting the position.
From what I hear, he has one of the most problematic presidential runs in history. So if I were you, I'd send it on to someone else. Maybe a local senator who's a little bit less of a shit stick.
Yeah, it works. Whatever political affiliation you want to send it to, send it to there. That's
there you
fine.
go. Try to find Spencer, name the least problematic political person to send it to in 1882. Go ahead, just pop that off real quick. Just throw that one out there. He looks at Dude and Bucky and says, "Are there you two?"
I guess just. Oh, sorry. Just my belongings and anything else back to the rest of the Shale Sons. I'm hoping they can get that iron contract someday.
All right. And he pencils down the members of your family that he already has on the record, and then looks to Bucky.
Bucky takes out something concealed in his sack. Ties a little note, scribbles. Here. My cousin. Here is the address. I know it's far. Do not open.
Woo!
Containments. Do not contaminate this. It is top secret Canadian goods. But my cousin, I hold dear, she will take care of this if something bad happens to her.
Foreign goods.
I trust you.
He holds it with a shaky hand and goes, "I'll get this over to the Pony Express if you don't come back," and sticks it in his bag. And the foreman heads off to attend to other things. And we are left with a convenient group of three. Elmer, Dude, and Bucky, the three of you already having spent some time together. It looks like you are the volunteers for what must come next.
All right. Watch your lamps, everyone. If they had extra dynamite spread out for that collapse, it might still be in there. We don't want a stray spark getting close to it.
Agreed.
Shooting guns is my whole thing, though.
Aim very carefully and watch for ricochet
right.
then.
Elmer just
that.
pats
I can do
his irons. All right, so you guys have access to the camp. Once you go back down below, you obviously will not, and you don't know how long you'll be down there. They've been gone a good couple of hours now themselves. Is there any finishing business you want to do? Is there anything you want to do in the camp? Anyone you want to talk to? Or is it already time to go down below?
Yeah, I guess anyone who was on like the late evening or night shift that might have been like got a sense of the tunnels or something. I'll ask. Be good to check in with them and see where those caves were leading.
All right, you watch Dude Shelson make his way over to the other blasting people who deal with dangerous dynamite in dark places. Elmer, Bucky, either of you got anything you want to go do? It's all right if the answer is no. I'm just checking in.
Elmer goes and grabs from one of the train cars that's not hitched up right now. There's a whole wall full of canaries and bird cages, and he grabs one of those bird cages off and walks out with that.
All right.
Bucky grabs a couple more supplies, goes around some of the other workers that he knows also come a little armed, see if he can get some extra stray bullets here and there as he goes in. He also tries to get some pieces of rope just in case anyone slips. Finally, he also reconvenes all of his first aid kit, make sure there's enough for everybody and a couple rations in case something bad were to happen or someone gets stuck.
Okay, Bucky, you go and you manage to get together the gear that you would need for this to end up being longer than you wanted it to. Some lengths of rope, some ammo, a tool or two that might come in handy, while Elmer grabs a canary off the wall to notice those areas where things might go less well, and Dude makes his way over to where the blasting people make their work. You see there is a group of men already gathered outside, maybe 15 or 16 of them. They are gathered around a barrel, and already in the midst of a ritual that you are familiar with, you see that they have poured some whiskey into small glasses around the edge of the barrel and are grabbing them and are clearly about to cheers. It would seem, as far as the rest of the blasting company is concerned, they know what happened to those 12 guys down there.
Hey, y'all. So.
Whoa! And you see the one guy goes, "Damn it, I don't know if I got a 13th glass, dude." And he ducks back into the tent as you make your way over.
No worries. It may be still too early for that kind of morning and all.
One of the other fellas chimes in and goes, "Never too early when you lose that many men at once."
Don't know if they're quite lost yet. We'll hopefully bring some of them back. But I guess you guys were out down there with them most recently, right? Which parts of these like new caverns were they exploring? Like anything kind of unique to the topology of the area?
Yeah, you pop in with this and you just sort of start asking around. You sort of pose that question to the group, and a small murmur sort of goes over their faces, a few of them giving you a sort of conciliatory look as if to say, "Sure, dude, you'll find them. Maybe there is a few of them down there." And you see as two of them standing side by side, who you know are on the later shift, a gentleman named John and Wes. Share a look with each other, and John voices up and goes, near as I knew, they weren't, nobody was going down to explore anything what got found. They were just hoping that it would make it a little easier to blast their way through if, you know, there was already some natural weak points. Of course, the fear being something was going to cave in real nasty. So that's when that man from the railway showed up, said he wanted to go on in with him and take a look, and then that's the last thing I heard. Nobody was going to go spelunking or anything. I think maybe a man or two would duck their head under to see if it was worth setting a charge on the other side, if the wall turned out to be well and truly thin, but ain't nobody willing to volunteer for it. Who knows? You go down there, and you watch as Wes jabs him in the ribs with his elbow, and John goes, "Well, it might not be that dangerous, really. You never know what's down there." He was clearly about to say how dangerous and foolish it would be to go down there, and has been stifled by one of the others in the group.
All right. Well, thanks for the heads up, and good luck to everyone out here too.
You see the fellow comes out, and he is wiping out a tin cup that you immediately recognize as the tin cup that Elmer was spitting tobacco into a few hours ago. When he goes, "I can pour it in this."
Nah, that's all right.
"Oh, all right." And he tosses it over his shoulder. And you make your way off as they drink to the comrades that they believe are already entombed down below. The three of you quickly reconvene out in front of the train, looking off to where no other man is probably willing to go for at least the next few hours. You've been bought a little bit of time. What do you all do as you prepare to go off into the dark?
Normally, I'd say it's a bad idea to go out, doing some investigation after the sun had set. We're going into a big cave, so I guess it doesn't really matter what time of day it is.
For the record, it's
y'all
like...
got any other business?
It's like 5 a.m.
Oh, okay, it's morning time. Gotcha.
The night crew is the one that is stuck, but they got stuck at the end of their shift. So, for the record, I don't even really think... If I describe the sun coming up, we'll do a gentle retcon. I think the sun is like the sky is purple now. The sun is not yet up.
I mean, I got nothing else. Sounds like you already talked to the people that had the best idea of what was going on down there. Foreman had no idea why Nathaniel went in. So I'm good. You guys ready to boot, scoot, and boogie?
I'm ticking, yeah.
Here, I got some more ammo. Just keep your rifle
away.
Ooh.
Nice. Back at that.
Here's a couple other extra bandages in case we lose contact from one another.
Okay.
Let's do it, gentlemen.
Bucky hands out bandages and rounds, and you all get ready to go to the dark below. Take a moment, take stock of your weapons, your abilities, because this may be the last chance you get to look at them as you head into the dark beneath. All right. Elmer, Dude, Bucky, we see you walk forward, framed by the foot of a mountain that you are carving through one of the side edges of, twisting inward ever so slightly, headed to what is on the other side where it is impassable by any other means. You travel maybe an eighth of a mile into the mountain. Not too terribly far. Just enough that if you, I would say in cowboy boots, you're probably starting to get a little sick of walking already, and you can only imagine how much lies ahead. Until eventually you reach what you expect to find. You see a huge section of the stone interior wall of this tunnel, fortified by pieces of wood and a few other large standing scaffolding structures meant to keep you all safe. Specifically those who are sent in and out in moments of panic, like Dude. But you can see that along one side, along the left-hand side of this tunnel, where it terminates in this wall, there is a deep crack that swings around, is only partially filled with bits of rubble and dirt, and is still somewhat accessible, if not perfectly so. The dust has settled at this point and makes a thick layer on the ground beneath your feet. No railroad tracks have been laid in here yet. The explosions have the whole area too volatile to risk the metal. It'd be a bit of a squeeze, but not impossible. You might have to move a few stones out of the way, but nothing worth rolling over. However, you have arrived at the scene of the cave-in. What do you all do?
If you want me to go first, I can kind of check it out, see if there's a quick, most efficient way through. Give you guys plenty of space and guidance from the other side.
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
The other side of the crack, not the other side. I mean,
Take the bird too, just in case, like, you know, carbon monoxide or whatever got him.
right. All right.
No
I'll
way,
take the
Elmer.
bird.
We $20,000 cut. Elmer says, "Case the vipers get you."
The vapors.
No way, Elmer pops off. It's
I have no idea.
Even
I
if they
don't know
knew
when
the
that was
term,
determined.
Elmer says ghost air. Like, I don't know what it is, but it's not
The
snap.
jokes.
All right, we watch as Dude takes the lead, moving up, swinging around this cage with a canary in the front of it, listening for it to grow lethargic and stop singing as it, like, gently tweets. It is beginning to quiet down as you are now in the dark, and it is not as keenly aware that it ought to be awake.
And I'll start to go, I guess, more incorporeal as I sort of like find footing through here and sort of I guess talk back to you guys about like the little more spacious spots and things and what's a little too snug.
In that case, go ahead and roll plus weird for me as you try to flex a little bit of otherworldly power, because Dude Shalson, played by Stefan, is the monstrous.
That's a 10.
A 10, complete success. Dude, every time you reach a point of uncomfortable tightness, where other people would suck in and contort themselves and maybe get stuck, your body just drifts through sections, but always mindfully so that you know what your allies will be able to pass through. You note wider portions and those stones that need to move for you to progress, as you hear the occasional dim chirping from the canary cage in front of you, jostled by the strange nature of your movement. It is only about 10 feet or so in, so just far enough that you're thinking that the others should begin to follow, that you turn and are met with a grisly sight. As you move ahead, you see one of the larger sections where stone has collapsed and dirt and ground into sand texture smallness has filled one of the sections. And all you see, not even an entire hand, is like the cross section of someone's pinky and ring finger and the edge of their forearm crushed and bloody underneath stone.
We've got some remnants over here, but take your time getting through.
I don't think I will. I don't think I will take my time. Sounds like somebody got crushed to death in there. I'm gonna be quick.
Yeah.
All right. Elmer,
Just don't crush yourself too.
Elmer, with Dude's
Deal.
successful roll, no roll on your own side needed. Same for you, Bucky. Elmer, you go. Do you go head first or feet first?
Elmer's definitely gonna go feet first.
You grab the side and start to lower yourself down and in, twisting where you know there will be turns, and preternaturally knowing that there is a just decapitating concussion rock that dude spotted that you duck up and under. You find yourself wedged a little uncomfortably as you look around to where dude is, one of the two of you having a small lantern running on gas or oil. You whip it around the corner, and sure enough, you see this crushed hand, a wedding ring on the ring finger.
I'm gonna take the wedding ring off the finger.
You take the wedding ring, sliding it off of the finger, and you hold it in your hand, and you see there's a small inscription on the inside that just says, Sydney, forever and ever. And you remember that the name of one of these people was Sydney Bowen.
All right, Sydney is... actually, give me 1 second. I pinched the finger.
Nothing. You pinch the finger, and the, everything that's not the forearm, moves forward and is crushed to the point of non-existence, and there is just a stump of that section of the hand in front of you.
Sydney is dead.
And as is tradition of scheduling conflicts, to the person that left right when I described that, I respect you, man. You know your limits. I respect you, man. You know your boundaries. All right.
An important note that I should have brought up before. One of my moves is hunches. When something bad is happening somewhere that I am not, I can roll plus sharp. And if I do it well, I know where to go and I know how to get there in time. If not, I'm there late in time to intervene but not prevent it. And then I miss, I get there just in time to be in trouble myself.
Oh, no. All right. We definitely would have done one of those last night.
Yeah.
I think we will retcon, because that's great that you have that ability. We retcon a scene earlier. Great. It is 5 a.m. for everyone else, 2:30, 3 a.m. for Elmer. We see Elmer shoot up out of bed. I assume by himself in a tent, and look around.
Yes.
Sweaty. He goes out, gun loose in his hand, not even bringing the holster, in those union PJs.
Long johns.
In long johns. Runs out, and you don't even know why. You just start to dash towards the tunnel just in time to be blown back by the smoke and dust that we described earlier. You are next to the foreman when that scene actually played out beforehand, and now we cut back, a flashback for Elmer remembering his near aid there. Bucky, you are just behind him, forced into a deeply uncomfortable position, one of your arms up over your head, in a position that would make anybody else have a panic attack 3 times over. But Bucky has been around this before, and is just patiently waiting to be able to move his arm once Elmer stops looking. Do Elmer or Dude, you want to do anything else in this situation with this sort of slightly dismembered body, or do you continue onwards?
Continue.
I'll check for any TNT or nitrous residue on the hand, see if they're the one that set off the explosion or not.
Very good. Roll plus sharp.
All right. That is a 5.
5. Abject fail. You take a look, and as you move in closer to smell under the fingernails to see if there's any strong scent of explosive or sulfur, something or the other. And just as you do, you slip and lose your footing, and Elmer and Bucky, you watch as Dude whoa, flies and sails down across one of the sides of the tunnel and is gone from your view. Dude, you feel yourself tumble onto your back and start to slip and slide as you try to stop yourselves. You can see that up ahead, the tunnel, this winding cavern, branches. One swinging out to the left at a terrible jagged angle, and another almost moving into a little bit of an incline up the other way. You're gonna slam into one of these two walls. Which one do you choose?
I guess down the first one, maybe.
Okay, you swing off to the side, banging into the wall, hitting your arm hard for, we'll call this a 0 harm move, as you just slam it and sort of your shoulder goes stiff instantly as it shocks with pain. You didn't quite have the time to go incorporeal for this one.
Oh, definitely mind your steps down here. There's two new passages. I went down the right one.
The right side, you say?
Yeah.
Actually, the one
Hold
that you
up.
went, the one that you
He went down
described
the
is-
correct one.
You went down the
Correct.
left path.
Oh, okay. That was the jagged
That
one.
was the right.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
the left one curved
Left
down a little, the right one curved up a little, and you said the first one, which would be left.
Right, left. Okay, gotcha.
All right,
Alright.
we'll go down the
Left
correct
one.
path.
Yeah.
Coming
Left
down.
is correct.
All right, Elmer, you
Alright.
start to make your way down. Bucky, blissfully, you finally get to move your shoulder as your arm is unpinched, and you guys continue on downwards. It isn't too long before you reach where Dude had fallen. You look around. It is a good thing that he was in the front. Somebody of a different constitution might have been more injured by the same fall.
All right. I mean, do I see any footprints down there leading
Make a sharp
in?
roll. Investigate a mystery.
Absolutely.
As he's doing that, I'm gonna try to see, just read a bad situation as well. Look at my surroundings.
Sure, do two different approaches to the same problem. That's just good math.
I got a 7.
A 7, mixed success. All right, I think that's hold 1.
Yep.
So which are you thinking of holding?
I think I'm gonna do. Where did it go? But really, what I'm asking is, where did any footprints go? Like, do I see any path?
It
being
in this
the
case is
survivor.
referring to the miners and potential survivors. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, cool. I just dropped a note card. No.
Oh no.
That's how you can tell this is an uncut show. Uncut shows. All right. Elmer, as you start to look around trying to get a sense of where people went, you see stumbling, halting footsteps, unfortunately with a big set of sliding heel marks right through the middle of them, where Dude slid through here just a little while ago.
Sorry.
But with a mixed success, despite that disturbance, you managed to pick out just enough detail to notice one thing. You see the steps of men that are afraid. You see halting, doubling back, moving forward a couple steps to the side. These men who believe they are trapped, or who maybe really are, continuing downwards, unable, seemingly, to move back. You see panic, not a reassured movement scouting ahead forward. And one set of footprints that shows no panic. It does not double back, it does not shuffle, it does not slide. In amongst worksmen's shoes and, blessedly for them, a few people with bare feet who are stuck down here, you see a clean, smooth pair of shoe prints. Long, pointed on the toe, a dress shoe, walking confident as can be, down through the tunnel, always firm of foot, and off to the left, just where you all are headed, as if going down below into a wine cellar.
Well, Nathaniel's alive.
You all watch Elmer point out this perfectly clean set of footprints headed down below. Bucky, you were rolling read a bad situation, right, at that same time?
Hmm?
What was
Got
the
an
result of
8.
that? 8?
8.
Nice, hold 1. You got one of those you want to ask?
Or any threats going unnoticed. He's looking at the footprints. He's kind of like looking around, making sure that there's nothing, especially that might have caught any of this panic.
Are there any dangers we haven't noticed? Yeah. As you are looking around, you see... You have caught this cavern in a moment of relative safety. As Elmer is poking around, you just watch him very casually put his hand up on one of the walls as he shifts his weight to peek around a corner, looking at these footsteps. And as he does, what he does not see that makes your eyes go wide is the entire fallen in wall. You watch part of it twist, and a few pebbles drop. As Elmer leans off and keeps going, only you see Bucky. There is a threat here that is not easy to see. This section of the tunnel, and maybe the tunnel as a whole, is not stable. If anything else goes off in here, sealed.
Easy there. Easy. I wouldn't put too much pressure on that.
Elmer, you look over, pull your hand off, and watch part of the stone shift as you take your hand off.
If they start clearing it from the other side, I hope they take their time.
Yeah. All right, let's get out of this part of the room. Let's get out of this section of the cavern because it's not looking good. Let's go deep.
So you all continue left?
Yep.
Moving down, the tunnel widens a little. Eventually, you are no longer having to shuffle through sideways, being able to walk through like normal. And not long after that, being able to walk 2 men to the side. As it widens even more into these open, almost cavernous shapes, still cracks and splits in the heavy stone of the tall mountain above you, but comfortable enough that you can stand up straight. You continue to see footprints beneath your feet, disturbances and dirt and dust that have stood there for who knows how long. Always driven, Elmer, by a perfect set of footprints right up the middle. Walking like he can see as easy as anything. What's up, dude?
Wow. I'll take a check at like the cavern like walls themselves. Like, is the stone like significantly different than the main tunnel we've been blasting, or is it all the same?
You sort of run your hands along the stone to the side. The texture is a little bit different. That doesn't surprise you too much. It isn't until the cavern gets to its widest point that something does surprise you, which is that there is a smoothness to what is here. It is not jagged and rough. It is not full of randomly sharp and grating stones that have been broken. It suggests traffic, because it cannot have been air or sand or dust that has worn this area smooth. It can't have been water. You hear none beneath your feet, and you see none dripping from the sky, which would mean someone has come back and forth enough that the rough, odd texture of granite and broken stone has been replaced by smooth canyon walls, as if they've been swept by wind for centuries.
Well, this place is certainly a little bit more accommodating, but I don't know to what it's doing that accommodation to.
The elements, water, wind, I don't know, natural stuff. I'm gonna count the footprints. I'm gonna do like a row
Yeah.
with like a 6-inch up and down scale, see if I can get a good count.
Yeah.
On a sharp, I got an 8.
An 8, mixed success, 7 through 9. I love it. I think that makes perfect sense. You count 11 sets of footprints for a good long while. Not a super surprising number. As the cavern begins to widen, however, it begins to split and head off in a few different directions. And quickly, you see an area of disturbance. And then the footprints continue, but there are only 9.
The hell?
But the other prints go in different directions.
Bucky, you
I
take a
look.
closer look. Roll your own sharp roll as Elmer notices this disturbance. Somebody failed to check a while ago. Stefan, make sure you mark experience.
Oh, okay.
That's another 8.
Well, you might be able to cram a level up into our one shot. Who knows? That is another 8. That is another mixed success. Bucky,
Oh, yeah.
you see that these the 2 sets of footprints, right? It went from 11 to 9. The 2 sets of footprints both shoot off down one of the side walls, and you can see disturbances in the dirt. These are 2 people who broke into a sprint, leaving dirt behind them. And as you look up, you notice something else. A deep scouring mark in the wall. You find a bullet hole where a shot was fired in the direction where the 2 of them ran.
Take a look over here, boys. Whatever these things people were running around away from. I don't know if they were the problem.
Yeah.
Or whether
Maybe
they
they.
were the other 9 were, but do you think we need to at least split up a bit and see, just scout ahead, call out?
Oh,
I
Yeah.
think. I mean, I feel like we got a harder decision to make, and that's, should we follow the big group or should we just go and get small groups as we find them? Because right now it's a numbers game, 9 versus 2. Should we go for the big one? Should we go for the small one? I think split up. No way. The odds of us not catching something. I don't see it.
No, don't.
How about give me 5 minutes? Just let me go out there. Let me follow, see where these 2 are just a little bit. I'm just trying to see what's going on, and I'll come right back.
I mean, look, you're the professional monster hunter, so if you want to go do some monster hunting stuff, you feel free, brother. Enjoy. I'll be sitting right here.
That canary would be very handy.
Oh yeah, take them. Here's tuna can.
Yeah. Oh.
Ah, you son.
Very angry
That's
canary.
a tuna fish.
You begin to tuna. I almost said
Like
you begin
minions.
to tuna up the corner. You begin to turn up around this corner, Bucky, leaving Elmer and Dude behind. Elmer and Dude, you are left alone in the dark of this cavern, lit only by lanterns. Strange shadows dancing on the walls as the carving that exists naturally all around you casts its strange dance. Bucky, you continue to make your way up. You see that first gunshot, that mark in the wall. You travel up just a little bit, and you find another in another part of the wall, as if somebody followed, but only for a few steps. No blood. These 2 seemed to have made their minds up and sprinted with alacrity. They do not seem to have been winged by either of these firings. As you continue to follow, it doesn't take 5 minutes, maybe only 3 or 4, before eventually you come upon another horrifying scene, very different from the last. You find no bodies trampled by stone, crushed into their component parts by the unyielding earth. Instead, you see a corpse on the ground, leaning up against the stone wall, head laid back in a rictus of horror, chest torn open, ribs all askew at different angles, limbs cut to ribbons by what seems to be just hundreds of small, terrible lacerations, and large chunks of the flesh missing, ribs exposed, organs gone. You do not see a second body, but you do see a leg that is not accounted for by the corpse you are looking at in one of the corners of the room, that for all the world looks like it was gnawed off.
Do I recognize at least the one corpse?
Yeah, absolutely. The body, short of stature, round through the middle. It's a miracle he fit through the tunnels if he did. A jovial, friendly, short man named Hezekiah Willis. Well liked in the camp, didn't seem to make it out this evening. And, you know, it's hard to tell, but Milton's boots always were a bit of a funny color. They were a bit of a reddish brown. They were almost purple, and not quite a normal color. And the boot on that foot could be his.
Not wanting to take the entire boot, he takes at least a piece of the Bowie knife, cuts at least a little bit of the leather off, just as a bit of evidence. At this point, Bucky's seen some gore and viscera in his past, but for something like this, he knows he needs to get back quickly. He wants a quick investigation of the other leg.
Absolutely.
Anything.
Bucky flips out a knife, cuts. The boot has on either side loops to pull it up by, and you just cut one of those loops off. A perfect little piece of leather. Go ahead and roll Investigate a Mystery as you poke around the scene a little bit. I'm going to kick over to Elmer and Dude while he rolls. Are the 2 of you up to anything at all? What is going on in the dark of that cave as the 2 of you wait to see if Bucky returns?
I mean, maybe the foreman wanted to like keep them all together so they wouldn't like panic and split, because rescuing them all as a group would be a lot easier than individuals. But how he's behaving by those footsteps compared to the others does seem very particular and out of character for him.
Small note.
I mean, he's a weird guy.
Small note. The railwayman and the foreman are different people. That's all.
Oh, right.
The man from
Well,
the
this
railway
railway-
is the one down below. The foreman's back up above.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
no, Nathaniel, he's a weird guy. I wouldn't be surprised if a bunch of stuff doesn't spook him. Maybe he just knows that freaking out a situation like this isn't going to do anything for him. So he's keeping it calm, cool, and collected, put on a good show for everybody else. Maybe those two started, asking too many questions, pushing to go another way, and split everything up. And one of them got a little bit rowdy, pulled out the gun, fired. Those two ran off. And it's likely. It makes sense. So far, seems like cave-in and people doing cave-in stuff. That's all. They're freaked out. It makes sense.
Yeah, and the cave-in itself seemed kind of dangerous, so makes sense they wouldn't stick around there. But I don't know why they'd go so deep in unless they thought there was another way out.
I mean, yeah, it's a whole cavern system. There's a chance they find a little path up. They find a loop. We already saw two on our way in. They probably did the same and thought, if there's this, we can probably find a way out.
We cut to a scene many weeks ago of Elmer on the back of a horse, looking a little tired on a road. You are heading around a town to meet back up with the train, having heard reports of activity, maybe a bandit or two in this back area. Bandit's still the right term, right? A roadman. You make your way around the back looking for them, and we're shocked to be joined by Nathaniel Birch, who is riding alongside you in his sort of infinitely nice black duds, not wanting to have ridden on the dustier road up above. We see a brief scene of two men jumping basically into the path in front of you, and you looking over with a hand outreached as if you are about to defend Nathaniel, and we watch as he, with a slight grin, flips his jacket out of the way, and an incredibly bright silver pistol on his hip glints, and Elmer sort of leans forward, and the two of you ride ahead, and we cut back to Bucky, who is investigating this crime scene. Bucky, what'd you get?
Wow. Okay, we're going to S7.
A 7, mixed success. We love to see it. All right. That's investigative mystery. All right. Which of those questions are you thinking?
So,
what happened
so
here?
first
What
thing
sort of
is,
creature is it? What can it do? What can hurt it?
So, as he's looking at this knot of leg, he starts looking and wondering, where did it go?
Where did it go? You accidentally answer two of these questions a little bit. As you ask that one in particular, you look at the leg, and it does seem to have been gnawed off, but you don't see the powerful, crushing jaws of some large predator. You see gnawing, toothing, biting, steady work that would have been quick only due to the numbers. And you look at the small cuts, and then you look around. And this tunnel system, it has its large, easy to pass through entry and exit ways, and many smaller holes in the wall. Not too large, maybe 9 inches, a foot, foot and a half across, but big enough for something scurrying, climbing, clawing its way through. Enough room for a lot of them.
He mutters to himself. Definitely not Wendigos. Maybe something even worse, something similar. I'm sorry this happened to you all.
Not the slip of the accent. As Bucky, you turn your way around and you make your way back to Elmer and Dude.
Yeah, acting as cool as possible. He's gonna try to quicken that pace up, but also trying to muffle his sounds. The canary hasn't gone off, not really pissed off.
It is only as you make your way back that you turn and look down into the cage and see that the canary, no longer aggressive, not dead, is just sitting in the corner, scrunched up, as if trying to look small and hide in the corner of its cage. As you make your way out, it relaxes a little and starts to waddle back up to the little perch inside, staring around, shivering in anxiety. As you make your way back to Elmer and Dude, you two hear a sound of scuffling feet and shuffling, and then Bucky appears around the corner that he had gone behind just a moment ago.
Any sign of him?
Didn't find him.
I know you like to say that I'm crazy, Elmer, but unless you want to see yourself, I have Ezekias. piece of his boot, but that's not the worst of it. There are more holes. And I found they are ripped open. He's dead. I don't know who the leg belongs to, but there are creatures, there are monsters down here. I don't know of any cave-dwelling monsters. Not from the stories, not from the monsters I've hunted. I've hunted big stuff. Big feet. Yetis, Uyarulis. And nothing like these. I don't know.
I mean, you found a loose leg. Probably fucking dynamite. Probably got blown up. You know?
Well, these bullet holes, dynamite, that we all know that dynamite doesn't rip you apart and look like you're gnawing on something. Dynamite doesn't bite into you. And you gotta trust me on this. You can go back and take a glance yourself. But I was like, from here on out, I made the choice to go by myself. We need to stick together.
I mean, I agree with you on that.
So keep an eye out for holes in the walls too, then.
Dude, are you armed?
Elmer,
Just
you
a revolver?
look up, and the entire ceiling has smaller holes.
Hmm.
Dude, if you're not armed, here.
Well, I've got a revolver. I'm good. Thank you.
You got it.
Just everyone's got guns.
I-
It's the Wild West. Everyone's like, I got 3 guns. It's hilarious. It's funny. So for those of you who don't, this is also DM Writer's Room a little bit. Normally when you're playing Monster of the Week, you have to like justify why you have a gun. It's very fun to set it in the Wild West and for it to be like, tell me why you
Got
don't.
guns.
Like, why wouldn't you have a gun on you right now? They're $3. Go get a gun. All right. And you all continue, I assume, downwards into the dark.
All right, so that's three dead. I think we should hoof it if they're getting, separated out after the gunfire. It's probably going to buy us a little bit of time before anybody else splits apart, but it's not going to last forever, monster or not. So let's do a double time to get down there.
Sounds good. Hopefully we can meet up with them soon. I'm sticking.
Even saving one will be worthwhile.
I take Tuna Can back.
You take Tuna Can back. Tuna Can sits there terrified in the corner of the cage, not wanting to move, not wanting to do anything, seemingly petrified by the space that you find yourselves in now. You continue downwards, winding and wending your way, the tunnels breaching, but thankfully you have steps to follow, and you will not easily be dissuaded against them to wander off alone. You do not find another set of tracks splintering off from this now group of what was once 12, then 11, now 9, as they continue, always guided by a steady set of footprints following. Nathaniel Birch moving with confidence, the others continuing their startling half steps down further and further below.
Elmer is looking up at all the holes, waiting to see if there's any movement, because now that he doesn't believe that it's monsters, but he does think that there might be something weird going on, so he's looking, if for nothing else than evidence that it's just water droplets coming out or something.
All right. In that case, I'm going to ask you then. So it sounds like you are either investigating a mystery or reading a bad situation as you try to learn a little bit more. Either way, it's going to be plus sharp, but those rolls get you different results. Which one do you think you're popping off with?
Think I'm gonna go with investigate a mystery.
Sure. For those of you who don't know, Monster of the Week is a storytelling game. It is meant to be played as a conversation between keeper and players where they make rolls in response to what they do. So I am not as much... when you're DM, you are kind of arbiter of the story to some degree. You prepare your very specific things. It is a little bit more freewheeling in Monster of the Week as you respond to what people say. Often that means that 2 different checks will both be plus sharp, and that's fine. They are different goals for the character and the RP of the moment. Elmer, what'd you get and what are you rolling?
I got a 6, and it's going to be investigate a mystery. So the question, I think it's what sort of creature is it, or what is being
got a
concealed
6?
here? Yeah.
So
I get
so
nothing.
Fail.
So I get a whole lot of nothing. Yeah. I look up, nothing.
You want to burn a luck? Or you
Yeah,
keep
there
your
ain't nothing
6?
in those damn little holes. Rats couldn't survive in a cavern like this. There's nothing to eat.
Elmer looks up for a moment and looks down. And with that 6, you will get an answer, but you will not like how you get it. As Elmer says, there ain't nothing in there. Rats going up to get something to eat. And Bucky, as he says that, you lean back and your lantern lifts up. And you don't see anything from inside those holes, except for the reflection of eyes looking down from above. And in that moment, we snap into cathartic, massive action as dozens of small spider-like creatures, long bladed claws where normal legs or mandibles would be, begin to scurry along the walls down to where all of you are. A few of them just letting go and dropping down towards Elmer. Elmer, immediately you are covered in these horrible sharp-legged creatures and start to tear them off of you and throw them
Oh shit!
in other
Holy crap! What
directions,
the fuck?
tossing them around. You take 2 harm.
Wow.
Do you have any armor or anything to negate some of that?
No.
Cool. It's going to be a short adventure, brothers. I love it.
Rough.
You are sort of pelted with these things, and quickly you find yourself falling first to a knee and then onto your back, shoving them off of your chest. You manage to just start to lift yourself a little bit, but you are still prone, and you instantly know as you look around and see dozens of these creatures in all directions that that is a terrible position to be in. Who wants to do something now?
I will grab Elmer and start dragging him down.
Dude reaches out, grabs Elmer under the arms, and just starts to pull him back. Roll plus tough to protect someone.
All right. Modifier. Oh no. Oh well. Good rolls. So a 10 total.
10 total. That is a complete success. Your options for having completely succeeded is to suffer little harm, pull all impending danger towards yourself, inflict harm on the enemy, or hold the enemy back. What do you think you're trying to do, dude, in this moment? It's a tough choice.
Yeah. I'd say
Elmer, you just feel these arms sweeping up under your armpits and pulling you halfway up to your feet and back as you are starting to rip these creatures off of you. And I assume fish for your gun down the side of your belt. Dude, which one are you going with?
I think just maybe holding the enemy back, because I want to just outpace their crawling as I haul him away from them.
Absolutely. You just pick them up and start to backpedal. You're not reducing the damage that Elmer takes in this moment. You are just getting him out of the danger for a brief moment. So the next time we have a hard fail on the part of Elmer, you will not be subject to damage, but instead some less dire consequence. Bucky, it sounded like you had something you wanted to do a minute ago. What was it?
Yeah. So right as he's watching Elmer get dragged, pulls out his lever action and starts shooting into these creatures, aiming for their claws.
Bucky just starts just firing off into the crowd of creatures. Go ahead and roll plus tough to kick some ass.
Yep. $13.
Let's go.
13, as complete a success as we can get. I love it. All right, so your extra effect, you can gain advantage to go forward, you can inflict terrible harm, you can suffer less harm, or you can force them where you want them. Which way are you leaning? As these creatures are scurrying, covering the walls, sprinting towards you all. They've stopped coming out of the top, but that still leaves you in this room with at least 2 or 3 dozen of these terrible, massive spiders made of nothing but claws and talons and teeth.
So, I guess, with that shot, I'm actually going to see if I can direct them where I go with a loud bang, with a couple bursts right in the claws of these spiders that are grabbing Elmer, but also a few quick shots around to see if I can put them in a corner.
So you're trying to force them where you want them?
Force them, yep.
All right, as Dude is dragging back Elmer, Bucky starts to expertly fire, starting to limit and shepherd these creatures back off of the front of Elmer. Elmer, as one is like rearing up, you see one of these talons rears down like it's going to come into your eye or your mouth, and it is blown apart against the wall, striking another one as it sees you look over to see Bucky firing off these shots. As just a few moments into the fight, you all now have a little barrier, a little bit of breathing room as these creatures are skittering around on the edges, still staring out at you. What was once 24, thanks to well-placed kicks, a couple of gunshots, and Dude just sort of stomping as he backs up, is maybe down to 24 or so now, a little over or under 20. Who wants to do something next? Elmer, you haven't done something since you fell.
Elmer finally gets a hold of himself in this situation and does draw both of his revolvers, and he starts shooting into the holes above him. But what he's doing is actually plus weird. He's using magic here.
Okay.
And the intent is to bar a place from entry. And he's trying to cause many cave-ins in those holes, so no more of those creatures can crawl out of them.
And this is
anything that ran away can't come out.
And this is sort of Elmer's supernatural talent with guns that he is kind of exploiting.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead and roll plus weird then. Let's see what you get. Oh, and make sure you marked experience for before. Who knows? You could level up in this little one-shot.
That was a 9.
A 9. I love it. Mixed success. Works imperfectly. Choose your effect and a glitch. You're obviously choosing bar, a place, or portal to a specific person or type of creature. I like that. I look down at glitches and I see the effect is weakened, short duration, 1 harm, ignore armor, immediate unwelcome attention, or problematic side effect. You choose the glitch and I choose its effect. So which of those glitches are you the most interested in?
I think shortened duration.
Shortened duration, absolutely. You fire off these shots up in, you see them like ricocheting perfectly within the holes to cause these like little mini cave-ins. You manage to back your way up a little bit as these creatures are now pooling around your feet, and then you watch as a few of them, trying to get away from Bucky's wild gunshots and your own pistols, start burrowing down into the ground. You are free from the entryway that is up above you, but new ones are already being carved beneath your feet. If this fight isn't over fast, you may find yourself overwhelmed.
And I do have an additional ability, which is Hex. When I cast a spell with Use Magic, as well as the normal effects you may pick from the following. And I'm not going to read the whole list. But what I'm doing is the target immediately suffers harm. 2 harm, magic, ignore armor. And that's the rocks from the mini cave-ins. Some of them fall and end up hitting, some spiderlings.
Absolutely. Important question. Bucky, how much damage did your gun do? You rolled to kick some ass.
Yeah. So for this, I substituted the assault rifle, so 3 harm.
Sure. The assault rifle becomes a lever action. I like it. It's 3 harm. You firing off these shots, boom, boom. As Bucky is firing Elmer, you start to shoot upwards, firing into these top parts. Rocks crush some of these creatures as they back up, the last few skittering back towards their holes. Bucky fires at as one of them goes to burrow down a hole that another one of them started. We get a final scene where I am going to give this to Dude because the combat ended before your last turn. We see Dude sprint up, jump with a Bowie knife, and stab the last one through the ground. Its claws climb and then still as it fails to pass through. And you have vanquished this small swarm of terrible cutting beasts.
What
Definitely
the
don't want-
fuck was that?
I don't know. I've never seen anything like this, but you believe me now?
Yeah, I mean, I believe that there's some freak creatures in this cavern. Let me get a look at that thing,
All right.
dude. Let me take a look.
Here you go. You can pull it off the knife, or actually, I'm just going to give you the whole knife itself.
Keeping things
Thank you, I
remarkably
appreciate
calm,
that.
Elmer reaches out, takes up the whole knife, and picks up the lantern and takes a closer look at this creature. Different from a spider in a few important ways, it does not have 8 legs, it only has 6. 2 on the front, 2 on the back, 2 on the sides. They are each pointed with these sharp, like little daggers of bone or carapace, whatever the exterior is. They look like the worst version of an ant that you can imagine when you imagine what those creatures look like. It has a mouth that is like tucked in up, buried under its legs and some other protective carapace that is full of sharp cutting teeth. I'm trying to think if there's any other. Let me take a look. And you see that there is a strange structure to its joints and the way it is held together, where you are expecting to find strange muscle or the odd insectoid connection of like just carapace to carapace to carapace, knowing everything is internal. You see these almost root-like tendons and sinews that connect this creature together, occasionally ending in these little bulbs, these strange little balls of flesh that take up its full size and shape.
Yeah, I mean, it's like an ant. It's like, what is the Amazon forest? It's like that, They got big bugs. It's just a big bug.
There's like big isopods too and stuff. But
Yeah, but whatever that is. It's not a
Maybe
monster,
never
it's
heard.
bugs.
And with ants, there might be a queen, and I don't want to be running into anything like that. They're monsters in my eyes, and there's probably thousands more where that came from.
You're always saying scary shit. It's just... Alright, I like kick the thing off of the knife and I hand it back over to dude. Let's go.
Let's
Yeah.
go quickly.
away from these holes.
All right, you continue onward, shaking off the fear of that last anxiety-inducing combat, making your way down further, your first experience with whatever it is that is down here. The footsteps continue to turn and wend and wind their way around until eventually they open into a much wider cavern, expanding off into many different arms that swing around into many different directions. You see here the footsteps again clutter in for a moment. And this time you do see one person dead on the ground, not torn apart by the gnashing of teeth. A gunshot clean to the head, his jaw and the top of his head blown off, scattered across the ground. You see a form that you would recognize as Oscar Hampton.
What's going on?
I look at the ground for casing, if I can find one.
Yeah, go ahead and in roll plus sharp. You all watch as Elmer takes a look down, reaches out and picks up a casing, because who cares about fingerprints? It's 1882.
12.
A 12 knockout. Hold 2, man. You find a casing. Tell me what information you're trying to gather by the finding of this casing.
I think what happened here and what is being concealed here.
What happened here and what is being concealed here? Absolutely. You pick up this bullet casing, looking around. You take a look at the back, and we cut. How did I do this? To that scene we saw a clip of earlier of you on the side of the road. It's maybe a minute later. And we look and we see Nathaniel Birch, his revolver open, and he is cleaning. And there are 2 dead bodies in the road behind you and him. And you watch him take a fancy-looking bullet out of his pouch and put it in. And as his thumb moves away, it is the same bullet casing that we see on the ground. As he loads the second, spins it, locks it in place, and goes, "Now that wasn't too bad, was it?" And puts it back in its holster. And we cut to Elmer in this moment. Elmer, you look at the footsteps, and the picture here is clear. You see a very small scuffle. It looks like 3 men working up the courage. One of them grabbing somebody around the middle. A second man grabbing somebody's arm. But you would know what almost nobody else does, which is that Nathaniel carries 2 guns. One tucked up under his arm. And the picture is clear. He just pulls out, shoots the first man in the head. Instantly dropped. The second 2 fall to the floor, and you don't see footsteps running off in other directions. They are not executed. They all continue ahead down the same tunnel. And then what was your second?
Nathaniel's. It was actually what is being concealed here and what happened.
I
here.
will give you the
But
tunnel
I think
as
that I
the
got
thing
him.
being concealed here.
Nice. Nathaniel's damn silver bullet casings. All right, I think I gotta reorientate myself here. It's I thought before it was a major group making a decision with a minor offshoot. It seems more likely now that there's one armed man making the decisions for the entire group that's not incredibly popular with that population. So Nathaniel's probably guiding them, leading them a certain direction, and they're not really taking kind to it. But I don't know where the hell he'd be bringing them. I look a little bit more. It doesn't look like the footsteps have faltered at all. It's been kind of beelining. We haven't passed any other entrances or exits, though, right?
You've passed many other tunnels, going down many other portions and ways. This is a complicated cave system. Lots of these, I want to be clear, would end up with you upside down in a dead end to die of starvation. All of the others have that strange halting step that any of us would have. Can you imagine the panic you would feel? Especially this cave being tall enough that you could walk, but just dark enough you can't see. And always. You first thought he was leading the pack. It is now that it occurs to you that he is probably standing at the back. You see Nathaniel Birch, walking cool as a cucumber, never so much as leaning in the direction of one of these other tunnels. Straight ahead.
Maybe this is a cave system that's been surveyed before. Maybe the railway had a map or information, and he does know a way.
Yeah, he would have gotten information, I guess, from the surveyors, like going ahead and stuff. But like, it does seem strange that they would be so uncertain in his presence too, unless he's just kind of a little bit of an unsettling person to be around.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to put a lot of faith in him that he does know what he's doing, and in a situation like that, like this, it's not really a given, I don't know. Killing him, though. But he didn't kill the other two. We got to keep going. We got to find more information. But I see where they headed. They headed that way down through this tunnel.
Yeah.
All right. You see where 12 became 11, became 9, became 8. The numbers dwindling with each passing tunnel, each widening of the space. Another adventure. I should run this. We should do another scheduling conflicts where you all play members of the mining group, making your way down. You all continue onwards, making your way forward, trying to stay determined to the best of your ability. It is not too far before you begin to hear a noise in the distance. As you follow this tunnel down, you start to hear a steady sound, like something being moved and put down, and moved and put down. A sound you would all be familiar with. It is the sound of people moving stones. One passing to another, placing. One passing to another, passing to another, placing. Continuing to move. And you hear dim and in the distance just the edge of the familiar voice of Nathaniel Birch ringing up through the tunnel. You don't know how far he is. You don't even know which tunnel he's down. You can just hear the echo coming up as he says, "Just keep at it, boys. Won't be too much longer. It's this way." Stones moving.
Does it feel like we've been getting deeper, or have we been making any upward progress?
Make a plus sharp roll.
I'll give you
Double sixes, baby.
Double
13.
sixes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Right at the first turn, there was two paths. The one on the right went up, probably just around that bend in the rock that the foreman was talking about. The one to the left went down. And it is in this moment the camera does that thing that they do, where all of a sudden it locks to the side, and we realize that you have been traveling on a steady gradient down and down and down. There is
Something's
no
going
way.
on.
You are well below the ground. There is no freedom to be found in this direction. More desert that you are now dozens of feet beneath the surface of, maybe north of 100 by now.
Something's
Yes.
not right here, but
Yeah.
what does he know that we don't? And I don't think walking right up to Nathaniel is going to do any solution for us. We might be prepared for a fight, or at least investigate quietly.
Might be
Any
good
one of
to
us
see
feel
what
the
they're
most-
doing.
I'm okay with doing it. I'll stay in sight, just in case.
I'm going to use a move, telepathy. Elmer always gets a good vibe of people. He always tends to know when they're going to pull the trigger, you know? And in this moment, he's hearing him call out, and he's putting pieces of the puzzle together, and it's not making any sense. And he tries to put himself in Nathaniel's shoes, as he knows him, as he's interacted with him. And it is magic, but Elmer doesn't know that.
Oh, so you're Will Gramming. You think that you're just seeing the design, but in real life,
I'm locking in, but I'm really no. I'm just using telepathy. So I can investigate a mystery or read a bad situation using
plus weird.
No, actually, it's still just doing that. It just lets me do it by listening to their mind.
Oh, nice,
instead
cool.
of anything else.
Okay.
So I'm going to read a bad situation. I think that makes the most sense here.
Yeah, sure. Whichever you think is best.
That was 9.
7 to 9. Hold 1. That's brutal. So, for those of you who don't know, Monster of the Week, his options for read a bad situation. And I do want to be clear, you're going to get a lot from this because you're using that ability, because this is direct pipeline from his brain to yours. What's my best way in? What's my best way out? Are there any dangers we haven't noticed? What's the biggest threat? What's most vulnerable to me? What's the best way to protect the victims?
I think it's what's the biggest threat.
What's the biggest threat? For Elmer, is this like a personality adoption? Like, does he suddenly feel the thoughts of another person and that's how he knows they are about to shoot? Or is this a grander, maybe he thinks it's his imagination. He's like, no, I just got a vivid mind. Or does he like see through their eyes and feel their adrenaline and know what they are about to do? Like, how deep in does Elmer get when he does this?
He becomes of two minds. He is seeing through their eyes and his eyes at the same time. And that's how he knows to go that millisecond faster. So he's literally looking through their eyes and thinking what they're thinking while still being aware of himself.
Yeah, all right. You are gazing through the eyes of Nathaniel Birch out at the scene before you, and a number of things strike out. First, I will answer the question. Actually, I will finish by answering the question that you asked, but you do gather two more pieces of information by the doing. Number one, you suddenly are a little shorter than Elmer is naturally, a little more slender. You can feel a little bit less to your muscles. You are not the sort of ropey strength that Elmer is used to. Sitting back, one pistol still in the holster, the other loose in your hand. The sort of cool ivory of the handle has gone warm and sweaty from how long you've been holding it. This gun has been in your hand for hours. Your hand's even getting a little tired, but you're used to it. As you blink and look up, you see the 7 men before you, still under your power in this moment. But something that stands out to you is very strange. Is as you blink, it occurs to you, Elmer, that you are not seeing dim torchlight or dim lantern light looking out at these gentlemen. You see no light pretty much at all. And with each blink, there is the outlines of the men in front of you are in white, as if they can be seen crystal clear, like they've been inked with a pen against the wall. But the danger that you haven't noticed is where they have been clearing away small rocks and debris, making a path ahead. You see quite a bit of dynamite and explosives have been being placed and fused and tied together, and wheel back towards sitting on the ground, sitting on a large rock he has pulled up for himself. Nathaniel, you look in his other hand where you were expecting to see another gun, and you see that he is flipping a lighter open and closed.
His eyes went a little bit glazed over for a second, and then Elmer looks around to Bucky and Dude, and he says, "There's something wrong with Nathaniel. there's something he's different. There's something wrong, and there's charges they're ready to blow down there. I don't know what's in the side of that wall, but I don't want to find out.
How do you know?
That's really
right. I remember what you shared. Okay, I believe you. What
You're-
do we
you're-
do?
I guess get that lighter away from him and then stop him from blowing things up would be good first, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's as far as I know, it's 1 him and 3 us. Let's go get down there.
Do we go in aggressively, try to take it, or try to calm him down? I just don't know if I'll trust a man with a lighter.
And with that, we are going to take a break. We will see you all in 5 minutes. Everybody go use the restroom, grab something to drink. I think that's right down the barrel, the best moment to do it. We'll probably wrap up here in the next half. I'm guessing probably a little closer to 10 than 10:30. You guys are really trucking. I like it. We will see you there. I'm going to mute and switch on over. Catch you here at 9:15. Hello, and welcome back to Scheduling Conflicts, the only show that runs when other shows are canceled. We are back after the break. In the first half, Elmer, Dude, and Bucky volunteered to go down below in pursuit of 12 men who had disappeared in an apparent cave-in, although not quite perfectly so, of the railway tunnel that they are in the midst of helping get drilled and built. They were the only 3 volunteers after finding some not-so-suspicious dead bodies and then some very suspicious dead bodies. A picture has begun to come together of Nathaniel Birch, the man from the railway, is leading the others down here at gunpoint, and now we see, through Elmer's strange abilities, a vision of Nathaniel having them pull rocks away from a wall in the pitch dark so that they cannot see anything, but he seems to be able to see just fine, and so he knows that there is dynamite loaded that he has no doubt been placing in the wall that they have been excavating, and is now leaning back just a few inches away from his foot, flipping a lighter open and closed, not knowing that there are people behind on their way there. Elmer, Dude, and Bucky are at the exit of the largest of these strange cave system tunnels that they have found so far, one that spirals downwards in a direction that they know they will find Nathaniel in, although not perfectly where. The cavern has constantly been branching and shooting off in different directions. Pardon me while I burp. What do you do?
The last thing that was asked was, do we try and talk him down, or do we go in guns blazing? So I think we are running down the path we know that leads deeper, and if I'm still following tracks, I assume, so I'm going to keep going that direction. And I say, I mean, something off about Nathaniel. He's already killed at least a couple people. It's not. I can't fault him if it's just something going on, but I think we got to go in guns blazing.
How about even a little diversion? If you think it might fit, we 2 of us hide behind in the cavern where they can't see. Make it seem like it's just one of us. See how he reacts, and if things go bad, we fire it. Disarm him with that lighter you said he had. That seems to be the biggest issue, because if we even gun him down, that lighter goes off, we're all dead.
Yeah.
Bucky, you wanna?
Or worse, we'll attract more of those things.
Yeah, if you want to go for the lighter, I can try and see if I can sneak by to the source of the fuse and diffuse it from all the TNT as well.
So one hide, one try to sneak, and one try to attempt to reason.
I'll run in and I'll cut an angle. Like I don't know what I'm looking at. I can't find anything. So I'm going to cut to the left to try and draw his eyes to me. If you sneak to the right, you might be able to avoid whatever that vision is he's got going on. So hide, run, and I'm going to bolt in and go one direction.
All
right.
Elmer, your role is definitely first. You get around the corner. You all slow your jog down when you fear you might be heard. You catch a breath, catch a second, and get ready to dash around the corner. I mean, it's gotta be act under pressure, right?
Yeah. I got a 7.
Elmer's not, I take it, particularly cool.
No, -1, as a matter of fact.
So a 7 is a mixed success, which I like. A worse outcome, hard choice, or price to pay. As you sprint out, you dash around the corner. So you're trying to look like you are like fumbling, but very quickly through the dark.
Mm-hmm. Like I'm messed up, jostled, turned around, and I'm just going any direction, and I go that way.
Okay, you like knock off the wall, step down as if you are sliding, and I'm going to give you a hard choice here. You hear Dude's footsteps behind you, and you know that he is making his way around the outside, and you watch as quick as a flash, Nathaniel whips around, sees you, but your ruse has worked. As you stumble, he thinks you can't see, and he lifts up that one gun and is slowly drawing a bead on you, thinking that you thinking that you are like totally blind and cannot see him. I assume that you are still, your ability to see through his eyes before you know where he's looking. If you dodge out of the way, the ruse is up. If he fires, he is taking a slow, like aimed shot, trying to hit you like right in the head or chest. So it will be devastating if you don't give away the plot a little bit. It's totally up to you. It's just going to affect Dude's roll. It's not instant death for the next character, so it really could go either way.
I think that Elmer knows that if he doesn't disarm that dynamite, everybody's gonna die, and he's willing to risk one shot. He's been shot plenty before. He'll take another bullet because the other option is way more dangerous.
Okay. All right. What's Elmer's health looking like right now?
Bad. I've gotten 2 harm, so I'm 1 away from going into the dying category.
Okay. So from becoming unstable, you watch as he pulls the gun, draws a bead, and you just have to stand there. Every instinct telling you to do something else. You hear bang, and a shot rings out. And Elmer, you take a shot in the side, 2 harm.
I do cough up a little bit of blood.
You fall into the wall, bleeding heavily, coughing up a little bit of blood into your hand, still alive. You hear a very soft, oh shit.
It's me, it's Elmer! It's me, don't shoot!
Dude, go ahead and make your roll. Again, I think it's got to be act under pressure, but I'm going to give you a +2 because Elmer has taken a shot over it.
Yeah, I was thinking of going incorporeal and sort of like fading into the.
Plus weird.
I sort of swim, but I don't want to like completely submerge myself because being like incorporeal in the earth, you don't know like which way is up and which way is down. So I've got to kind of keep my eyes above it as I'm heading towards the fuse and the dynamite.
All right, so go ahead and roll plus weird with an additional +2 from Elmer's grand sacrifice.
Okay, cool. Wow, and so that's.
Can I say something?
An 8 total.
I said that about Elmer, and in my head I was like, "That's fucked up." Like the whole time I was like, "Can you imagine having to just take the shot?" What was the result of that roll, dude?
An 8 total.
8 total, mixed success. Choose an effect and a glitch. Your effect, probably something beyond human limitations, or maybe, that's obviously the best one. Glitches, weaken, short duration, 1 harm, ignore armor, immediate, unwelcome attention, problematic side effect.
Maybe the harm, because like since I'm like kind of going quick, if there's any iron veins or something that I go through, that would be pretty nasty for my ghost.
Yeah, so as you are sort of swimming through the stone, dude, you start to lift yourself up and out, and your hand passes through the wall and streaks through iron, and it doesn't necessarily stop you. It instead is just this, it feels like it is as hot as iron being worked on a forge, as it burns up across the top of your hand. You take 1 harm, ignore armor, stifle a scream, and lift yourself up and out as Bucky is cocking his lever action rifle back to the wall. I'm going to say, so Elmer is in position. Dude, has arrived. I'm not sure what the next part of the plan is. Is it for Bucky to whip around and shoot Nathaniel?
So with that shot, Bucky, noticing that Elmer takes it, holds his ground, hoping that he didn't drop down dead as a doornail, aims this rifle and shoots the gun, or at least in the hand of Nathaniel, to at least disarm or at least damage, or even better, make the weapon malfunction.
Blow his hand off.
I think that's our 3rd act under pressure in a row then, because you aren't going for damage.
Steady aim.
It's a high pressure.
I will say, Spencer, remember, that just took you to
unstable.
Unstable. I just wanted to remind you, I'm not saying you have to do this. Remember, you can burn luck points to not take harm. And you only have 3 luck points, and that's
True.
the whole point, so that you don't need to feel bad about using them. So I will say the chess piece is still, your hand is still on it a little tiny bit if you wanted to do something like that. If not, and you're going to keep the instability, that's fine.
Can I go for luck?
Oh, do you want to use yours?
I want to use mine.
Absolutely. All right. So you're going to get so you go ahead and burn one as your, and so that turns your roll automatically. Your act under pressure becomes a 12. You may choose to either do what you wanted and something extra, or to do what you wanted to absolute perfection, which is to not only so if it is to absolute perfection, not only will you disarm him, the gun will break, but
Yep.
you know that he has a second gun. You know that from what Elmer had told you before. If you want to do that and something else, you're just going to have to let me know. The gun won't be broken, but it will be shot out of his hand.
Yeah. So the gun will be shot out of his hand, and quickly, as he's dealing with that, Bucky quickly scurries over toward Elmer, first aid kit at hand, to provide some quick aid.
Okay, and something extra. So I'll
Medic.
mosey on over to, because that is part of our little harm and recovery. All right.
So I have the medic.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so I think that's just going to automatically happen. So it's 1 to 3 harm wounds improve when you receive first aid. Okay, so you've received two harm wounds, Elmer. So I will say that you can basically, you will ironically, Bucky is going to do it for you. As you receive first aid, both of those wounds become 1 harm wounds. And so you are down to having only 2 harm. As Bucky fires, the gun whips out of Nathaniel's hand and goes, "What the fuck?" You just hear him like swear, turn back, and then look back forward as Bucky has already arrived up at your side, and there is a bandage like wrapped around your midsection with just like a strop of leather as a compression. You still need medical attention, but for the moment you have been spared some of this. But now this is a fight. As Nathaniel goes, "Well, you sons of bitches," and starts to reach into his coat to grab his second gun.
Is Tuna Can all right?
He's doing all right. He's gonna be just fine. And with the
All right.
medic, I did roll a 13, and with the medic abilities that I can do 2 harm.
And that's exactly, and that
That's it.
huge coincidence
gone.
is what I narrated, because I misunderstood the harm rule sitting in front of me just now. Absolutely hysterical. We love to see it. All right,
Nice.
so that is 2 harm healed. This scene, however, is still active and is actively going terribly. Dude, you have the upper hand right now. I think you probably have +1 to whatever you do next, as you have the drop on Nathaniel. He is reaching for a second gun. He is next to a lighter and a bunch of dynamite. Elmer is hurt, and Bucky is now out in the open. What do you do?
All right, I think I'm gonna probably grab the fuse for the dynamite, and hold the dynamite with one hand and just yank it all out, so it doesn't lead to the dynamite anymore.
Great. I don't think anyone's ever rolled a more important check to have sort of go super duper well. Go ahead and act under pressure for me as you attempt to run up and rip the fuse out of a stick of active dynamite.
All right.
Because nitroglycerin is famous for its stability.
Yeah, I hear that a lot.
Yeah. Ooh. Okay. And you said a +1,
Yeah, with a
So-
+1.
so flat 10 or total 10.
Total 10. You do what you set out to do. So I will say there's like there's many pieces of dynamite spread throughout. I will say you pull like half. Very quickly, you start to like methodically like pluck, like you start to pluck them out from the different parts. You know you've gotten to the point where this tunnel's not going to collapse. You all aren't going to die. But if there is something on the other side of this wall, it could still be gotten to. And so there is a second anxiety raising the hairs on the back of Dude Shaleson's neck, as you are aware that there is maybe something else going on here, and you just haven't had the time to fully remove. Also, the dynamite is still there, and dynamite is unstable, and so if this guy whips around and just shoots it, it will explode. But when he goes to light the fuse, it's probably not going to work as he hoped. Actually, that's a good point. I'm going to say, I was trying to make it not a sort of perfect result. I think you do pull the wicks out of all of the dynamite. You do manage to like find the key clusters, pull it out, and get the rest out. But it does occur to you that he could just whip around and shoot it, and it would probably still go off. But when he goes to light the fuse, nothing is going to happen as you just drop all of those leads to the floor. Elmer or Bucky, do either of you want to do something? You see, dude, in the casting light of your lantern, and you see a bunch of other men who reel under the brightness, having not seen the sun in many hours. You see the rest of the survivors lined up against the back wall, looking around, a look of relief as they realize that one of them is not who was shot, and then horror as they see Elmer, Dude, and Bucky up in front of them.
Bucky hands this rifle right to Elmer. You know what to do. Take the shot. Let me take it. Because he's got his little vest on and prepared to fight Wendigos and Big Feet. And tries to divert Nathaniel to him.
All right, Bucky's got a...
Over here! Over here!
Bucky's got a metal clothing washboard under his clothes, and he isn't willing to waste it now. We cut back to the room, and we see the foreman scratching his head. There's a big cast iron stove, and the big metal front plate is gone. And he's like, where the hell? And we cut to Bucky tying it to himself like a vest later and thumping it on his chest as you literally just run up into the face of Nathaniel Birch. Roll to manipulate someone. Roll plus charm.
Elmer yells out as you're running up, he's got a second gun, look out!
With the -1, it's an 11.
11 with a -1, incredible. All right. Ironically, so they will do what you set out to for the reason that you gave them. So the next time somebody fails and it results in him shooting, he will shoot Bucky. You persuaded him to shoot you, Bucky. Good job. I love that, Larry.
Dangerous.
All right, Elmer, did you have something you wanted to do?
Yeah, Elmer yells out first, he's got another gun. And second, he yells out to the people that are crowded over there, run for the tunnel you came in through! And then he just starts firing at Nathaniel.
All right. They quickly begin to scatter up and around the side, running down the way you all are in. There is no other way, sort of sprinting through all of a sudden in this flurry of activity. None of them, you requested that they run, and trying to get them to attack Nathaniel would have been a manipulate, so they do not do that, but they do run back up the tunnel. At that same time, you said you wanted to fire, and it sounds like that's your focus. Go ahead and roll to kick some ass, and whatever damage you would take is going to go to Bucky.
That's an 11.
With an 11, choose one effect. Gain advantage, take +1 forward, or give 1 forward to another hunter. Inflict terrible harm, suffer less harm, or force them where you want them.
Inflict terrible harm, and I believe that was 3 for Bucky's rifle, right?
3.
All right, so 3 damage plus
an
the
additional,
terrible
so
harm.
up to 4.
4 damage. Bang!
Absolutely. This shot rings out, tearing through the space. It catches Nathaniel Birch up through breaks his collarbone and cuts a chunk out of the side of his neck and his jaw. You see his jaw hanging from the one side over there. His neck blown open, blood spouting out between his fingers. Still alive, but dimly, and looking immediately kind of startled and hazy as he looks forward at you, sort of coughing up. He sticks his hand to it and looks up at you, and you see that perhaps strangest of all is that he does still have his sunglasses on, even this far underground. As he looks out at you all, a look of utter confusion on his face, he manages to get the pistol up and fires just as Bucky stands, and you hear pa-ding as it hits the metal of his chest. Bucky, you take 2 harm. How much armor do you have?
3.
3, and it harmlessly rattles off, and he... his accent disturbed by the torn open side of his neck.
Unfazable.
All right, who's next?
Guess I'll sprint over at him,
Okay.
and like my hands like reach into him, grabbing at his soul to sort
Okay.
of like rake into it.
Cool. So
Ren.
you're using magic to harm?
Yeah, like that using the weird for the kick some ass.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, because that's very
And-
different. Because use magic does less harm on average, but subjects you to less harm.
Yeah, so kicking ass, like using like my the natural weapon of the life drain ability. So all right, so that's an 8 total.
8 total, mixed success. Yeah. Tell me, what's the damage on that bad boy?
1 + 1, 2 total.
All right.
And it says life drain, so I guess it's like, do I drain 1 harm from him or something, or?
I have no idea. That would be in the rulebook somewhere. You'd have to go dig it up. But for now, we'll just
Okay.
shuffle on ahead, and you can pull that up in the meantime. I don't think you have too much terrible harm as it is. You reach into the back of Nathaniel Birch and feel a strange tether form between you and him as you deal out 2 points of harm. His back arches and contorts in a terrible amount of pain as you pull some of the life force out of him. He looks around. What are you doing? You hear him muttering almost inaudibly under his breath, "Can't you hear it? Can't you see it?" And he pulls his gun and whips around and fires and wings dude in the shoulder. You take 2 harm.
All right.
As you are sort of blasted back, your arms forced out of him, you slam into the wall behind him, precariously close to the dynamite, as he continues to grapple at his neck. He whips the gun around and is sort of frantically pointing it between the 3 of you, continuing to say that same thing through choked, wrecked breath. "Can't you see it? Can't you hear it?" And is like continuing to get ready to fire. Who does the next thing to try to get in his way?
Dude says, "Hear this!" Bang! And he shoots him again.
Hilarious, I love it.
And that was 7. I'm going to use luck.
Good use of luck.
So that's going to be terrible harm again. I'm willing to take a shot if necessary. So that's 3 damage plus the 1, 4 damage. And I do not limit any danger coming towards me.
Okay, all right, sounds good to me. You pull up with this gun and you whip around and fire, dealing terrible harm again, shooting out for that 4 damage. A terrible crack rings out, the thick smell of gunpowder filling the air, and it strikes into the side of Nathaniel's face this time, going in under his cheek and blowing out the back of his head. As he whips backwards, his sunglasses fly off and shatter against the wall as he slumps back down onto the ground, dropped in a minute like any normal man. But it was a kick some ass roll. So in that same moment, a shot rings out as his hand tightens, and Elmer, you take a shot in the leg for 2 harm, cutting into your thigh. You fall to a leg, to that knee, bleeding heavily as he gurgling up the last of his breath. Again, dude, you're the only one close enough to hear. "Can't you see it? Can't you hear it?" And he takes another breath and goes still.
A little hard to see down in the darkness.
You all begin to feel under your feet a rumbling, shifting tremor. Like there is some loud scream so far that you cannot hear it. You can only feel it ringing through the ground. Some terrible, baleful vibration filling the space around you, sort of consuming all of your attention, all of your senses for a moment. And then, from behind you, who's in the back of the pack here? It would be Bucky, because you'd be standing up. Elmer would be on the ground, and Dude would be in the front. Bucky, from behind you, you hear, "Can't you hear it? Can't you see it?" And you see one of the miners has turned around and has a stick of dynamite in his hand and has picked up the railway man's lighter off the ground. "Can't you see it, friend?" What do you do? You hear the others continuing to run, hopefully far as they can, fast as they can, and you recognize the familiar face of Micah Retliff one of those that was down in the tunnel, he's in trouble. One of those that ran down into the tunnel, staring back at you, his eyes glassy, a stick of dynamite in one hand, a lighter in the other, already aflame, flickering at its end.
Bucky takes his Bowie knife and then tosses it toward that stick of dynamite, trying to disarm him, as he's
Okay.
also rushing toward him to grapple him down.
Okay, so we're kind of in the middle here. Are you trying to harm this man, or are you trying to get the dynamite out of his hand?
Try to get dynamite.
All right, so go ahead and roll to act under pressure while I do a quick Google.
How hurt does a man get when dynamite hits him? Google. Thank you.
Not too bad if it doesn't explode. If it's just
If
the
he has
stick being tossed.
They're getting hit by a stick.
Armor. That's a 9.
Yeah.
All right, I was just reading up what
Yeah.
happens if you hit a stick of dynamite very hard. A 9 on an act under pressure. Worst outcome, hard choice, or price to pay here, I think is pretty simple. Bucky, you run forward at this gentleman. Carrie, you throw this Bowie knife across the space. It sticks into his hand, sending the dynamite fumbling down to the ground. You see, looking up, he says again, "Can't you see it?" And he just reaches down to light the stick of dynamite that is between his legs. If you run forward to tackle him, you will be next to an actively lit stick of dynamite.
I did
That's
not
your-
see that. Ooh.
That's your hard choice. He just lit it right at his feet. And so you got it out of his hand. He's not going to be able to throw it to the wall or anything. But if you try to grapple him and get over to it, you are going to be next to a lit stick of dynamite that is also at the exit to the cavern. What do you do? There's a look on Spencer's face that suggests I gotta have an ability that does something,
Yeah.
right? I gotta have something. So what do you do?
Gotta have
It's not gonna go off instantly. I just want to know how
go.
Bucky reacts to the situation.
Honestly, by taking notice of it, looking back quickly at his two companions, realizing that where they came from might be the only exit. But now there's not many bodies behind, so he continues to run forward and at least attempt to grab the stick of dynamite, leading his shoulder in, maybe even trying to knock over this guy.
Okay. So you run
He's gonna
forward.
try to,
Here's what I'm gonna tell you. You run forward, reach out, throw his shoulder into his chest. You knock him off his pace a little bit. Hold it up. You are holding a lit stick of dynamite. There are two directions that you can throw this. One is towards the exit that you all need to leave through, and the other is towards dude and that wall of other sticks of dynamite. Those are the two options before you. What do you do? It's nice when I don't need to. One of the roll consequences is give them a hard choice, but sometimes the player puts a hard choice right in your lap. The choice lays before you. You just have to pick a place to throw it. You either have to hope there's another exit, or that it doesn't quite blow up the entrance, or you have to hope that whatever he was trying to get out of there isn't so bad with him already dead.
Can I do a quick investigation around?
Bullet time investigation.
Quick glance around the
Yes,
exit.
but I'm gonna give you a -1
On
on
the
it.
wall.
I'm gonna you roll plus sharp with a -1 because you are in a high pressure
That's fine, so-
situation.
That's gonna be that's an 7.
7, mixed success. Hold 1. Definitely read a bad situation. And I think it's probably some version of what's the best way to protect the victims. Oh gosh! All right, it really does still come down to a choice, but I'm gonna leave it up to you. If you throw it towards the entrance, most of the guys that ran that way have gotten pretty far, and you know that the tunnel's split in a lot of directions, so you might be able to find another way out. It's not guaranteed. The 3 of you might die down here. Down the other way, you have a twofold problem. Number 1, there's a bunch of dynamite that way, and so you are all going to have to run. at that point. And number two, you don't know what Nathaniel was trying to get to. So it really is a choice between heavily endangering the three of you or guaranteeing that the three of you make it out, but you're going to have to deal with whatever Nathaniel was trying to get to. Who knows? He's already dead. Maybe it's not that bad. The question is, what would Bucky do, knowing that Dude and he is making the choice not only for himself, but for Dude and Elmer as well?
Knowing and seeing the things he's hunted for years, he turns around toward the big pile of dynamite, shakes his head. Oh, for fuck's sake. And tosses it toward the exit.
And you all watch
Far enough from him, and just throws it. He looks left, right, tick tock, tick tock. Left side looks the most stable.
You, Elmer and Dude, I'll ask what's going through your head as you see Bucky lift up this stick of lit dynamite that you can see is already like 2/3 of the way down, looks at the dynamite behind you, looks at the exit, looks at you all, and whips it towards your exit out of this tunnel.
Elmer is praying to God.
Elmer's giving prayer a try.
For the first time in his life. So what is happening while he's doing this prayer is actually a jinx.
Okay.
I am attempting to jinx the dynamite. I'm interfering
You son of a
with
bee.
what someone is trying to do, and I'm trying to make it a dud.
So in
the
that
dynamite
case,
does
I will
not
ask,
work.
Dude, what goes through your mind as you watch the arc of this dynamite and watch Elmer, like, full 11 Stranger Things try to save the fucking world? Dude, what whips through your mind as you watch this scene play out?
I think the panic of like all of that just kind of like becomes like a dull gray like overlay as like the words of the railway man kind of like echo in my mind, thinking like what's beyond the thing. And so I'm gonna try and like scout through. I'm just gonna like slip in there and try to see what's beyond.
We'll do that after. All right. Elmer, I roll plus weird. It's gotta be.
Yeah. Roll plus weird. Let's
I
see.
gotta be so real with you, man. I asked Stefan that to give you time to roll. I should
Yeah,
have.
no, I was vibing out.
It was sorry. The tapestry that Stefan and I were weaving together was just too good.
That was an 8, so I get 1 effect. And the effect is what I already said. I could have gotten 2, but I didn't need to do 2. So I got it.
No particular consequence for failing on that, Jinx?
Nope.
Makes sense to me.
I get...
Most of those abilities are...
if I fully failed, you get to do some fuck shit to me.
Okay.
But I didn't fully
Most
fail.
of them are a way to circumvent some of like the smaller glitches and things like that, so that makes perfect sense. Elmer, what does this feel like, man? This is straight magic. Like, how does this work? Is it fully non-conscious? Is it just Elmer hopes hard enough that it kind of be... Is
Yeah.
Elmer an orc from Warhammer 40k, and he just needs to believe hard enough?
In Elmer's mind, he's praying to God that the dynamite is a dud. God doesn't answer that prayer,
Okay.
but Elmer probably
Hey.
believes he does.
Hey man, who knows? We didn't set the rules of this one shot.
Yeah.
Elmer
Yep.
falls to his knees and is like, says a prayer to whatever the saint of dynamite is, as this stick whirls through the air and lands on the ground. And you just sit there and watch as it burns and just this little trail of steam comes up. And the dynamite stick doesn't go off.
Yes! I'm going to church every Sunday, I swear to God.
Dude, you immediately, in the moments before that, fade into the wall, maybe abandoning your party a little bit as you go like, well, as you lean and turn your head around the other side, the stone wall before you is thick, maybe a little uncomfortably so. You need to sort of fully extend out, keeping your feet on the ground to look through to the other side. What you see would, if we were playing Call of Cthulhu, merit a sanity check. As you peer through on the other side, your eyes go wide as you are looking at something infinitely strange. In front of your face is, first of all, an open cavern, tall and broad, and at its center, a tree. At least that's what it looks like at first, until you look closer. Its bark is not the winding path of wooden exterior. It is instead fleshy, covered in sinew, spiraling up to what looked like branches, but now look like the vessels of lungs, these strange veins, leaking blood and shiny with moisture that lead to these sort of like glowing bulbs on the end, all too familiar, identical to what held those creatures together, what held their sharp legs. And you watch as one of those balls pops and one of those creatures lands on the ground and looks around and starts to skitter across to some other part of the cavern, and you push yourself back up and out just in time to turn around, watch Bucky throw this stick of dynamite, Elmer shout that he's going to church every day, and then this miner standing up with this lighter still in their hand. Can't you see? And he just pushes past Bucky and starts to just sprint towards the wall. Like that one, I can't help but think of the one Uruk from the second Lord of the Rings movie, running with the torch. You watch this man just start to like sprint with a lit windproof lighter in his hand. And for just a moment, you're like, I wish they had never invented the windproof lighter, because that thing would be out right now if they hadn't. Who acts next as the scene is still running?
I'll be like, hey, you don't want to hurt that thing, do you? To the miner.
Interesting.
You're going to blow it up.
So you can't necessarily manipulate someone when you are dealing with this kind of situation, right? This is basically the creature that is before you. So I'm going to have to give you a little bit of a different jamski here. I'm going to say, you know what, roll plus cool. I think it's just you trying to give pause to this thing for just a moment.
All right. And that was just a 6 total.
A 6 total, abject failure. You yell that out, and and I think that is actually when Bucky tries to get in his way, and he just slams his shoulder up into Bucky's chest, sends him reeling to the side, and continues to sprint forward, almost moving to loping on all fours, now yelling at the top of his lungs, "Can't you see it? Can't you hear it? Can't you see?" Just again and again and again as he picks up steam, sprinting right at you, dude. Elmer and Bucky. Bucky, you've just been slammed into. Elmer, your prayers have been cut short by this insanity as Micah Retliff sprints forward. Do either of you have something you want to do in this moment?
Elmer, how close is Elmer to the wall of dynamite?
That's really up to you. Did you like fully have your back up against it in that moment? Were you trying to get as far away from Bucky and the stick of dynamite as you could? Or do you think you were still where you were fighting Nathaniel, which would be, 5-10 feet up ahead of you?
He probably would have angled closer to the wall, so he'd be kind of up in it. Elmer starts grabbing sticks of dynamite out of the wall. Just as many as he can grab in 10 seconds.
I love that. That's hilarious. Yeah, Elmer, you just start going like, I can solve this problem. And just start ripping dynamite out of the wall. Is there a special move you're doing? Or is the move
I'm using my ability to grab dynamite.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that it was just your grab dynamite ability.
Yeah, I'm just grabbing.
All right, man. If you can do anything to bump it up, I would. It's gotta be roll plus cool. Important note. I wanted to give a... Oh, no, wait. That would have been if Dude's roll had worked. My bad.
I did get a 5, so I'm going to use another luck.
Another point of luck. So this is First Blood. You are pulling these sticks and dumping them down into your lap, and then one of them you pull, and it slips out of your grip, and you watch it slowly fall, and you and tap it up into the air, and then catch it and stick it down and keep grabbing at them as you burn a point of luck to succeed. Elmer's getting down to the luck wire there as you are loading up the space in front of you. You manage to, because that would be a full success, I will say you now have 10 sticks of dynamite in your arms, and you're like, oh, thank God. and then you look up at the eyes of Micah, who is sprinting directly at you as fast as he can with a lit lighter in his hand. Bucky, what do? You're the only one in our cycle here who has yet to jump in.
Yeah, so at this point, he kind of notices what's potentially going on and thinking, okay, I have an idea. If the worst does cut in the pass and he opens whatever's behind there,
Okay.
and he goes, would you say we're still in combat or so?
Yeah. You are. This is the most
So-
anyone has ever still been in combat.
Combat. And so he's going to help. He's going to help Dude and Elmer escape from Micah. And try to grab him. Yeah.
Okay,
he's gonna
so
go, no one left behind.
So as this man is sprinting forward, we see Bucky go full. A scene in movies that I always love, which is somebody is running very fast, and then somebody next to them runs twice as fast and catches up and passes them as you go to basically tackle Elmer out of the way so that this dude just slams face first into the wall. Go ahead and roll to act under pressure, maybe even protect someone. Actually protect someone.
Yeah,
go ahead and
so-
roll plus tough.
Yep. So, and it says when I help, I'll roll sharp for leave no one behind.
Ooh, I like that.
Yep. In combat, when you help someone escape, roll sharp and then.
Perfect, great.
And that's gonna be. I'm gonna use my second luck right there.
Hey, there you go. That's how you can tell it's the end of the
You can either
episode.
get
Looks are burning left and right.
out. That's up to home. You choose. I miss. Yeah, I'll just it's almost. Let's burn the luck.
Yeah, do it. Come on. That's what they're for. And if you burn your last one, I get to kill you.
That's exactly so. Yeah, one more. All right. So he gets them. He grabs them. Successfully gets them away. Clean.
All right, Bucky, you whip around. That is also first blood as you tackle this Elmer out of the way with an arm full of dynamite. Elmer, you watch a couple of the pieces drift up in the air and you sandwich them down as you have to throw your spine into the ground so that you do not fall on the dynamite and you fall hard. You fall mid-30s hard down into the ground as you learning the
Crap.
Wild West definition of a slipped disc as this guy sprints forward and slams into the wall, still holding this lighter in his hand. You see it crunches his hand. You hear a snap as some bone in his wrist breaks. And as the lighter falls at his feet, he starts to fumble down for it, still trying to grab onto the lighter, still muttering, no longer screaming now with the pain, muttering under his breath, "Can't you hear it? Can't you see it? Can't you?" Just pulling out and trying to get at the lighter, but his hand is crushed, and so he eventually is reaching down with the left. What do you do?
Elmer runs for the exit, that tunnel, and he says, "Guys, let's make a quick exit over this way. I got the dynamite, and I'm gonna blow this place to fucking smithereens. We're sealing it."
Elmer runs with big
yeah.
arms full of
I don't
dynamite
think-
up the stairs.
Yeah, those things up there, even sealing it here, I don't think it's going to stop it because it's got those things up there that are part of it. Maybe should we just go through here, end it now? Bucky, it's a big entity if you're wanting to fell another big boy.
If we can bury it, that's the most important thing. Let's not get buried ourselves. Let's get as far as possible.
It just show. I think if we seal it in here, it's just as good as it being sealed behind that part of the cavern. Am I crazy for thinking that?
No.
All right. If we save that dynamite, though, maybe we can blow it up, but
The dude is saying
Otherwise-
we should get to it on
We
purpose
should
and
go
kill
into
it.
it.
Elmer
Kill
and
it.
Bucky are saying, let's just seal this cavern and get out of here.
yeah, it looks like it's making its way out everywhere, though.
Heck, well, it's gonna take more than just me. We're gonna need an entire army. The Canadians and Americans will have to come together despite our differences of 1812.
Bucky, you agree with me? I think we're going with the escape
We're
plan then.
All right, and I'll go over and check this guy out, why he sort of started changing. Can I like pat him down to see if he's got any of those?
You go over
bug
to
things on him?
Nathaniel.
Yeah. No, or not Nathaniel, the living one.
I mean, the other guy is still
Michael?
muttering, so he might attack you.
Yeah, I'll try to like pat him down though if he's pinned.
Yeah,
And-
he's not pinned, just stunned, but I see what you're going for, and I'm going to let you do
yeah.
it. All right, go ahead and roll
Alright.
to probably investigate a mystery. And I will say something gently. Elmer and Bucky have decided to run, and they have decided they are going to run no matter what. Dude,
Yeah.
your actions are your own, and this isn't Dungeons and Dragons. You don't need to do as much like the party needs to stay together. If Dude's story takes him down there, feel free to go that route. You're just going to need to steal some dynamite and do some shenanigans. We don't need to be as like, don't split the party as we do in Dungeons and Dragons.
All right. Like I just want to see if there's a way of like getting this guy back to his senses, like if there's a bug like controlling him or something. So, blowing my first luck then for this.
Okay. I like it. We're burning a look.
As I like kind of like reach out and like the ghost, like I guess the spectral stuff kind of like starts overlaying his
Yeah.
overlaying him a little bit.
You gaze a little
Just,
bit into what he
dark
has to
or glimmer.
offer. With that 12, you can hold 2, and I think the pretty clear answers are what sort of creature is it and what can hurt it. Seems to be are pretty obvious right up the middle for what you're trying to gather, right? So the first thing, as you pull through, you see his mind addled and bent, and this thick smell coming off of his sweat, like this terrible sweet smell. This like crazy like pollen and pheromones that makes you want to in this moment for just a second as you get some insight. It does. You feel at the back of your mind in your voice. Can't you hear it, dude? Can't you see it? And you have to like shake it off as you're now looking for a way to hurt it. You look at him and your eyes goes to the side for a second. You have the advantage of a sort of ethereal vision that your friends do not. You ever looked at like a light beam and you can see the dust trailing through it? There's a little bit of dust everywhere with all the disturbance. Right around him, there is a lot. There is something like flowing in the air around him, making that smell, and you can see him like breathing it in and out. And it is possessing him. And so you get the sense that you could maybe burn it or just find some way to get it out of him. It's a hard ask, especially in 1882, but that's the impression you get. Is maybe you could burn it away or get it out of his lungs?
I guess I'll take one of my. I guess if they've already taken one of the lamps, I'll take mine, and I'm just gonna like shatter it like right in front of him, and just sort of like.
Elmer and Bucky, you
Holy
both
cow.
watch Dude pick up a lantern and shatter it on the ground in front of him and this man. And for all the world, it looks like this guy is engulfed in flames. His entire body is covered. You can barely make out the outline of him. It would be like pouring a gallon of gasoline on somebody and then lighting them on fire. And for a second, you reach out thinking Dude has just straight murdered this gentleman. Maybe you are approving of that. Who can say except for you? But eventually the fire burns away and he... What? Dude? What the fuck?
Hey.
He looks down and goes, oh shit, and sees Nathaniel's dead body and scrambles and like falls and hits his leg and starts to run up out of the tunnel
don't
past
worry,
Elmer
we've
and
got
Bucky.
guys. Yeah, we've got guys up there. We're getting everyone out of here. Don't worry, just keep on going up.
Shit,
And
shit, shit, shit. As he like
Cover your-
runs and sprints as fast
Yeah.
as he can.
There's a lot of like nasty particles, so make sure to cover your mouth too.
He
Oh,
pulls
take tuna can.
All right. He
Yeah.
reaches out and takes Tunican and goes, hey, Tunican, ow! As Tunican bites him as he continues to run. You all are left there, and immediately, as Dude, you turn, Dude, Elmer, and Bucky, all three of you, start to smell a thick, sweet smell on the air. Like the
Cover your
entire
guys'
chamber is
mouths,
filling
everyone.
with some terrible smell. As you all pull up shirts or claws or bandanas or whatever it is, you are being sort of inundated with this smell. I assume at this point, Elmer and Bucky, armfuls of dynamite, start heading up and out. Elmer, are you just like... So you just have... So what I assume... Okay, so let me recreate the picture then, because we knew he had a lot of wick. So Bucky has a big spool of wick, and Elmer has the dynamite, and you guys are like running, like putting a stick up, tying it off, running, like letting it loose above your head as you go, and you tie off another one, just connecting sticks up the pathway as you run. Dude, you see them, and I will just ask, do you follow?
I think I might just be like I'll just be like, guys, let them know about the renown of the Shale Sons, and let the story go back to Barkwater Town, okay? As I grab a couple from the lower spot, and I'm gonna like try and jump through the
Elmer and Bucky,
wall.
as you run up the way, you hear Dude yell that, "Remember the Shalesons, tell them there." And then he takes your last like 3 sticks, runs towards the wall, and just jumps through.
Dude, don't do it!
Oh, no!
Shit, he's gone.
What in the...
I guess I'll have picked up the lighter too that the other guy dropped.
Yeah. Elmer and Bucky, we are going to leave your scene alone for a brief time as you line the walls with dynamite and keep running. Dude, you dash through, run up to the wall, and whoop, pass through, becoming solid on the other side and landing. You look and see this tree in front of you. That smell, overbearing. You are so grateful that you took the time to tie something in front of your face before you jumped through that wall and landed here. A few sticks of dynamite in your hand, this tree massive before you, like a redwood in its circumference, incredibly filling the space with these membranous branches and leaves. Those creatures, every once in a while, plop, plop, falling out of its shape, and you begin to watch the branches contort and rustle as your presence is felt and detected, and all in your head you can hear a chorus of voices yelling, "Can't you hear? Can't you see?" on loop. What do you do?
I'm lighting it, and I'm just like taking that thing and running towards it, just being like, let's give you something to listen to.
All right, dude, you sprint forwards. You light this bundle of dynamite that you have tied together around your belt. As you do, you see the branches shake, and dozens of these bulbs rupture open, and these creatures plop, 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 fall all around you. Dozens of them unleashed, all at once, interposing between this thing and yourself. How do you try to outmaneuver them as you sprint forward, lit dynamite in hand, to leap past them, wade through them, pull out a gun and start shooting? What does Dude do?
I think I'm just keeping the lit lighter in front of me with the and like my other hand raised with the dynamite, as I'm just sort of trying to plow through them, basically, just like long stride to outpace their small bodies.
Absolutely. Roll plus cool as you act under pressure, just waving this lighter. You do that thing. I think you can do it with this kind of lighter even at this time. You like pull the wick like 3 inches up so that there's just a huge exposed wick soaked in oil, and start to whip it in front of you. You know you're going to burn through this lighter in minutes, moments doing this, but it whopping them away from you. What's the result of the roll?
That is a 5.
Ooh.
As I guess blow my second luck.
Yeah, man, if there was ever a time, it's right now. You blow that luck, and as you are whipping the fire in front of you, you see these creatures like skittering back, terrified of the blaze in front of them, and at this late hour discover the weakness of the monster. As you leap over the top of their heads, you see that some of them that the fire gets too close to just fall over, eyes blank, inert, as if whatever it is that keeps them moving is severed by the presence of the heat and flames. You manage to sort of forge your way through, a couple of them starting to crawl around the edges. You have that like perfect little bubble where they aren't around you as you're like swinging the fire around. You get to the base of the tree. It would take you and 8 other people to put your arms all the way around to get across the body of this incredible trunk. What do you do with this bundle of dynamite to ensure the most destruction?
I think just right into the base of it, like where it's connected to the earth.
Absolutely.
So like just try and split it as much as possible, and
Okay.
just looking for a nice nook and cranny, kind of like just flashing back memories of like all those little dynamite sticks we've been sticking in the earth. and
A
now
lifetime of blowing up rock and stone. Dude can blow up a tree. You rear out with your Bowie knife, flip it in your hand, and stab into the roots and base of this trunk, carving open a path. Plunging your hand in deep with this stick of dynamite and this long wick, you pull your hand out and light it, and it starts to follow down. You whip around, and if there is any hope of survival, dude, you need to get the hell out of here. But you are, at least 100 feet beneath ground, and it is hard to navigate. And a cold fear begins to creep up the back of dude's neck. What does it mean to be lost beneath the earth, and how lost could you get if you weren't careful? What do you do?
I'm trying to run back. I guess they're about to blow up the other direction, so I'll look for another path upwards, maybe from here.
Okay, you quickly shoot out to the right, roll plus sharp, read a bad situation, and I don't think I've seen a worse situation. At the same time, Elmer and Bucky, your last 2 sticks of dynamite get placed in that one really unstable room very close to the entrance. You look back, you don't hear footsteps, you don't hear running, you don't hear dude anywhere behind you, and the choice lies before you. Or do you light the wick in this moment?
Now or never.
Just wait. We'll give him a minute. We'll give him a minute. He might get back here.
Elmer sits there. We gotta wait. Counting under his breath as we cut back to dude. Dude, what are you up to?
I got a 7 for that.
Okay, a 7. Read a bad situation. Hold 1. That's really all you needed. What's your best way out? As you look around, You look up. You don't have a good way to make it all to the surface without being blinded. But you see the holes that these creatures climb through. Not enough for somebody to move through, but enough for you to literally keep your head above the water, as it were, as you can stop for breaths and have some idea of where you're going, as occasionally you manage to keep a hand corporeal. And we watch Dude Shalson begin to climb the tree that he has just set the dynamite at the base of. Hands touching the gross, slimy, fleshy exterior of these creatures crawling up underneath you, and your lighter already dimming. The small amount of fuel oil inside not meant to do what you have set it up to do now. You climb, getting towards the top, and need to make that final sort of jump and then shoot upwards. I think you got to roll plus weird.
All right. Ancestors protect me. Wow, I've been rolling so many 1s, and now I finally got 2 6s, so 12 total.
12 total. Absolutely. Works without issues. Choose your effect, and we will leave dude's scene for a brief time. What we see on the camera is dude jump up in a reverse dive towards the roof, and then we cut to Elmer and Bucky. Time's passing, and Elmer, at the far end of the tunnel, you see skittering. Dozens of little shadows and silhouettes starting to flood down the tunnel, sweeping up the sides and covering the ceiling. You see an incredible number of these creatures winding up the path, surging forward, following the activity. What do you do?
30 seconds. Give him another 30 seconds. Bucky, let's start shooting.
All right. And he brings out the revolver.
All right, you guys begin to firing off, continuing to hit these things as we see Dude Shalson reaching the ceiling and starting to pull his way. It's like rock climbing, but backwards, as you get handholds inside of these reliefs and start to swing yourself upwards through them, almost your entire body incorporeal, having to stop to take these frenetic breaths. Elmer and Bucky, thinking you're running up the tunnel, have no idea that in this moment they are saving at least your kneecaps and legs as they give you a few precious moments. Elmer and Bucky, I think I need both of you to roll to act under pressure.
I got a 7.
Mixed, love it.
6.
Okay.
Last luck.
Last luck will kill you.
Will do. Yeah, it will kill me.
I'm gonna say
6.
you have the mix. I don't think you need to fix it if you don't want to.
Okay.
These guns are firing, and I think I know what the 7 and then the 6 is. Elmer, you are bang, 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 bang. You fire, and then your gun trains up, and you fire at one of them, And you realize in the second after you pull the trigger that you have held them back for that 30 seconds, but that there is a stick of dynamite behind this thing that you have just shot. As the shot leaves, your eyes go wide, and Bucky, at that same moment, one of these things stabs into his foot, and he falls forwards into the tunnel a little bit. As it detonates, it blows the two of you up against the wall. Things start to crumble around you. Bucky, you take 2 points of harm as ignore armor as the concussive force slams you into the wall and rocks your organs. As you limp your way up, you hear the cacophony of the as this follows down, and dude, your head starts to ring with the terrible sound because you're hearing like the tolling of a bell, that sound rippling through earth and stone, filling the space as the entire tunnel collapses, and the last branch of it striking into that room goes off in the moment with the dynamite at the base of the tree, sending a fireball curling up into the room, and horrible screams at the back of your mind. Dude, you're the only one close enough to hear them. That same shout of "can't you see it, can't you hear it," but a terrible scream as you continue to make your way up. It is maybe...
Oh shit, dude! Damn it! Fuck!
As Elmer chastises himself and throws maybe his gun or his hat down on the ground, you all start to make your way up to the surface. Elmer and Bucky in the front, looking haunted, having, as far as they are concerned, just lost a friend. It is only as you make your way up to the top and catch your breath under the beating, horrible, hot sun that thankfully is kind of nice compared to the cold and claustrophobic space that you are inside. You look out to the side and watch as out of a small, out of a prairie dog's hole, you see a hand stick up out, and dude pulls himself up out of the ground, spitting up dirt and sand, vomiting up basically whatever of the earth managed to slip into his mouth as he climbs his way up. The entire space now grows silent as dude pulls himself up and flops onto his back. Elmer and Bucky, you stand up there looking at him, looking relieved. You look over and you see the other 7 survivors looking at you all and looking at dude. And Micah, the one in the front who was possessed, goes, "Great job, man." A moment of nothing but confusion on their face as they see dude, by all the world seemingly, climb out of a gopher hole head first and lift himself up onto the ground. And you hear a voice behind him, a man you would know to be Winthrop Harvey, go, "We are not going to tell anyone." And that's a promise. And one of them goes, "Well, I might," and he elbows him in the chest, and he goes, "We're not going to tell anyone. It's secret." And from there, we cut to the foreman's office. It is a little while later. You are standing. You all 3 are seated. There is a chair, a stool, and a milk crate. And sitting behind it is the foreman. His glasses are off, and he goes, "All right, so just one more time for the record." And he puts his glasses back on, and he looks at the list. What is our official cause of death for Milton Durham, Hezekiah Willis, Sidney Bowen, Oscar Hampton, and Nathaniel Birch? What happened down there?
They were crushed by the rocks. And there were these, like, fumes, like, he comes up with a lot, like, sulfur, and people started hallucinating and seeing things, and we were able to just get them out of those fumes and get into safety. They were all crushed.
So what made the explosion?
Fumes.
Fumes. And
They were a little confused. They had some of the dynamite left over, and like we got to them right as they were like kind of in that confusion trying to light it.
All right. Well, I suppose
They
it could have
thought
been
they
a
were
hell of a
trying to
lot
escape.
worse.
Yeah.
All right, well, he stands up and he turns around and he puts in coins $2 on the table and then opens his desk and pulls out an envelope and goes, "Well, it's not like he'll be needing it." And he throws the envelope with Nathaniel's $10 in it. Slides it over to you 3 and goes,
Oh, yeah.
"All right, boys. Well, I imagine with that, well, I hope you stay around camp, but I won't mind if you don't. I won't forgive. I should say I'll forgive you if you don't. Been a hell of a day. I'll tell men to get back to work." hey, can you see that? And you all panic for a minute as he says one of those things, and then turn around, and all you see is off in the distance one of the rail car windows is shattered, and somebody has just accidentally hit a ball through it. But that moment of "can you see it?" made you all like a moment of panic sort of spirals. And I wonder if Elmer, Dude, and Bucky will ever comfortably be able to hear somebody say, "Can you see it? Can you hear it?" for simply the rest of their lives. And
Bucky
with
looks
that,
over.
oh no, go ahead. I invite you. What did the three of you do as you leave the tent from this horrific adventure finally
Bucky.
put behind you? I did not mean to interrupt.
Oh, you're good. Bucky, realizing he has enough money to go back and deliver these goods, just brushes up against the two, Elmer and Dude, saying, "Well, it looks like you all are also professionals in monster hunting. You know, we could franchise. I'll let you think about it. The Arizona Association. I'll see you up north. Hosiers."
And Bucky throws a bag over his shoulder and walks off into the sun, into the midday sun, as Elmer and Dude are left for a moment wondering if the Arizona Association of Monster Hunters is right around the corner. Elmer, Dude, do either of you have something you want to close with?
Elmer says, "Well, I guess I gotta go see about some coyotes then." And he goes back on top of that train car. They just have to set up to make sure that it can move across the railway again. He sits up at the top, and he watches for the day, and the next day, and the next day, and he doesn't see a single coyote. And he thinks that what had been bothering people, what had been killing the things in the area, wasn't the coyotes, but those weird spider things. And that problem might have been dealt with now. And he never sees one on this rail again.
Good stuff.
And I think as Dude was like trying to like go through that darkness and tunnel and stuff, like him calling upon his ancestors did conjure a couple of their ghosts to guide him, but it also did bring them too far into this plane, like uncontrollably, so that like he's like has that need to kind of like bring back his or end this curse on his family, and kind of like bring them enough from now that they can get their claim on the iron mine back. And so like those ones that used to go down into the iron mines were the ones that were guiding him back, but also kind of stuck behind and like as spirits inside those caves. And so he's just like kind of like feeling forlorn that they have been like left behind and lost now too.
With those thoughts weaving through our minds, Elmer's blissful freeness from coyotes, and Bucky headed up north. And I'll listen, maybe next time we cancel a show, I wouldn't mind running into Elmer, Bucky, and Dude again on these dusty trails. Maybe next time we'll play Call of Cthulhu and really spice things up. Same characters, different game. That wouldn't be halfway bad. Thank you all so much for watching this episode of Scheduling Conflicts. This is the show that runs only when other shows on the network are canceled. It is one of my personal favorites. You just watched us play Monster of the Week through a brief campaign that was largely come up with in the moment and in the moments before. The show is always a joy. You can catch 3 of our normally scheduled programs on Sundays at 7:30. You can catch Game Masters, Masters of Games, where we play games together, me, Spencer, and Michael, unfortunately our absent host in this case. We play games that we feel we've already mastered and that we still need to master. We played a little Marvel Rivals, some Baldur's Gate, some Elden Ring, some more Baldur's Gate. Now we're going to play more Baldur's Gate, trying to get through that game sometime in the next decade. I really believe that we can do it. On Mondays, you can catch The Party Makes Things Worse. Right now, we're doing Song of the Reliquary, a game I run in Dungeons & Dragons. So if you loosely liked my DMing style from this game, mosey on over there. If you thought, this guy sucks, Elmer Thick's got it in the bag, Spencer ran our last one in Monster of the Week, a game called The Prince of Charming, which you can go check out. I think it was 9 episodes in the end. We try to keep to shorter seasons, so hopefully you'll have a lot to listen to in the next few bits here. We are hopeful. And then on Tuesdays, today, you can normally catch DM Writer's Room, where we demystify the DMing process by coming up with magic spells, monsters, magic items, dungeons, all kinds of things live. And anytime one of those shows is canceled, there is a chance that you will be able to tune in to Scheduling Conflicts, assuming enough of us are available on those random days to make something like this happen. Check us out on DriveThruRPG, where you can see our first adventure, The Lich's Dollhouse, and itch.io, where you can check out The Last Thanksgiving, a turkey-tinged tale of vengeance. That's a one-pager that we came up with. We have some new stuff headed that way that we're pretty excited about in the next few days here. Check us out on YouTube, where Spencer makes a lot of really good things. He makes a lot of very interesting videos. There's some new stuff coming down the pipe that we are all very excited about, and he continues to work away at that like a hot stove. Good on you, Spence. And then maybe TikTok for a while? It seems like you're going to be able to keep checking it out.
And as a backup, in case TikTok gets rebanned, Instagram, where we do have a following. So I will be posting the same content there.
Oh, yeah, all right. So check us out on Instagram, check us out on YouTube, check us out on TikTok. Thank you so much for watching. That is all I had. It is always so fun to get to run another session of Scheduling Conflicts. I will catch you all on the next one, although I do not know when. Peace out.